in my earlier intervention that as at the end of 2021, inflation was at 12.6. And within a year, it rose to 54.6 because we had a major challenge with access to financing, especially. And as Stefan said, a major part of this program is focused on fiscal consolidation. As you're aware, there are new revenue measures which would enhance revenue flows to the budget and therefore reduce the demand for financing. You've also had the implementation of the debt exchange program. So the foreign exchange outflows that are associated with debt service should reduce. And then the catalytic impact of the IMF flows, which would also help attract other foreign inflows, both direct and bilateral support. And all of that should help, in a sense, not only bring inflation down, but also help with exchange rate stability. I think he misunderstood what the IMF said. I think the IMF statement was that we have to keep a tight monetary policy stance until we are sure that inflation is firmly on a downward path. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we would have to be increasing our policy rate. But then on the issue of the impact of the debt exchange on the banks, I wanted to say a few things. First, to say that banks are very liquid. We don't see that the banks are having any difficulty with liquidity. And in any case, the Bank of Ghana stands ready to provide liquidity for any banks that may have future liquidity issues. And also to add that the main impact of the debt exchange was to reduce the capital buffers of the banks. So what we have done is to give them some regulatory forbearance. We reduced the capital conservation buffer of 3%, and that reduces the capital adequacy ratio from 13 to 10%. And we've given them a period of 3 years to rebuild their capital buffers. So we think that the banks will be fine. Shareholders will systematically rebuild these capital buffers. And the government as a shareholder would also find resources to rebuild capital buffers of the state-owned banks.
The loss we are talking about is not 48 billion. Do you get it? We are talking about a loss of 60 billion, a negative reserve of 70 billion, and a negative net worth of 54 billion. In other words, your liabilities exceed your asset by 54 billion. If we were to sell Bank of Ghana to pay its obligations, the state will have to cough up 54 billion to be able to pay it. And you see, one funny thing is that he says that they are they are in conversation with government to recapitalize the bank. The man owes you, he can't pay. Your own money, he can't pay. You're asking him to bring you free money. You don't know equity is free money. He should now bring you free money so you can survive. Meanwhile, you are busy writing off your debt to the person. What sense is it? Always go with the person says, I can't pay you. You have agreed to write it off. Now you are saying after writing it off, it looks like I'm suffocated, I'm going to die. Can you give me some free money? Hey! I don't know the school me I attended. It looks as if I have to unlearn many things under these people. Your first point of call is government pays your money back. As a matter of fact, go and tell government that the 32 billion so because it's against the law. We don't have a parliamentary resolution to cover that write-off. Go back and tell them. When they were doing the DDEP, did anybody get a haircut on principal? Did any financial institution suffer a haircut on principal? Was it not on interest? And interest is in respect of the future. So how come when he came to you, you decided to accept a haircut on your principal? Is it because it's not your money? You see the others, because it's their own money. They can't even get their board to approve. There's no way any of the banks would have gotten their board to approve that the principal should be subjected to a haircut. But you,
Can this person be trusted to keep or to stay with the rehab program?
Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen of the media, fellow countrymen and women, let me assure you that very soon Ghanaians will be made to pay for Bank of Ghana recapitalization levy, a tax to recapitalize the Bank of Ghana. So as we speak, because the central bank has collapsed virtually. It is, however, our position that we have so recklessly, the government of Ghana has so recklessly mismanaged the central bank and brought it to its knees and cannot remain at the helm of affairs of the bank without being held accountable. Those who have led this reckless and criminal conduct unleashed economic hardship and financial distress on the suffering people of Ghana must be held accountable on this particular action. In fact, impunity of the highest order can no longer be tolerated by the suffering masses of Ghanaians. We must not allow this dangerous precedent to be set for future leaders. In this regard, we in the NDC call for the resignation, immediate resignation of the governor of the central bank and his deputies within 21 days from today. We are resolved to embark on popular action to occupy the central bank and drive out the team of inept, callous, and criminally minded mismanagers of our finances to save the Bank of Ghana. What we will do is that the march will ensure accountability. Colleagues, the march to ensure accountability will begin in 21 days if the governor of the Bank of Ghana does not do the needful and pack bag and baggages out of that sacred institution that he has unfortunately mismanaged. Dr. Ernest Addison and his deputies must go. Only this week, in fact last week, the annual report and the financial statement of the Bank of Ghana was released. This report depicted the catastrophic decline of the Central Bank of Ghana into a bottomless pit. The report revealed the following astonishing facts. 1. The Bank of Ghana recorded a staggering loss of 60.8 billion Ghana cedis, which is equivalent of $6 billion US. This is twice the amount we are to receive from the recent IMF bailout. 60 billion Ghana cedis, representing $6 billion US, meaning this is twice the amount we'll be asking the IMF to give to us. This simply means that the reckless and mismanagement of the governor of the Bank of Ghana has costed the nation twice what we are struggling and sacrificing to receive from the International Monetary Fund amid its major conditionalities. Colleagues, the Bank of Ghana has also recorded a negative equity of over 55.1 billion Ghana cedis. This simply means that the Bank of Ghana is currently bankrupt, or in other words, insolvent. In other words, the once prestigious Bank of Ghana, the mother of all banks in Ghana, have been bankrupted and collapsed by the NPP economic management team led by Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, with the complicity of the governor of the central bank and his deputies. Friends from the media, many questions have been asked about how we arrived at this gloomy and sad situation, with some expressing surprise at the state of affairs of the central bank. For us in the NDC, the disaster did not come as a surprise. In fact, we in the NDC minority have always known that the Bank of Ghana was being mismanaged. We have made this point time without number, that the Bank of Ghana is a classic example of how not to manage an economy. The NDC party is on record to have informed Ghanaians on countless occasions that the Bank of Ghana has been on a dangerous trajectory, and indeed, it has now become a crime scene with the dire consequences for us all. Fellow countrymen and women, after the inept and clueless finance minister overborrowed and got Ghana locked out of the capital market due to our unsustainable debt obligations, the NPP government chose the easy, reckless, lazy, and criminal path of printing money. Unfortunately, this is how the governor and the central bank's the governor of the central bank, Dr. Ernest Addison, who is now known as the printer of money, has conspired with members of economic mismanagement team led by Alhaji Dr. Bawumia and the inept finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta, aka One Program, One Bond, to destroy Ghana's central bank. After this dastardly act of overlending to the government by the central bank, they then proceeded to do the unthinkable. And the unthinkable is to write off a whopping 48.4 billion Ghana cedis, about half of Ghana's government indebtedness, to the central bank without parliamentary approval. This is illegal and criminal, and the NDC members of parliament will not allow this to pass. In fact, we will resist this.
As short and brief as an old woman's dance. But Mr. Speaker, first of all, to draw attention and to make an application to you that going forward, I just heard Right Honorable Speaker Bakbin himself speak on it, that on this matter of media review, we are not debating. We are not debating, and that we are commenting.
Mr. Speaker, why has it become necessary to respond to this call to duty? It has become necessary, Mr. Speaker, because the IMF program and the reference is the 17th in our nation's life. If we add the structural adjustment program and the HIPIC program, this is the 19th time we are seeking development partner bailout. We all know why. Mr. Speaker, we have been running for development partner bailout because we have been doing two wrong things. First, we have been spending money we do not have. But secondly, we have been spending on expenditures that have to be imported. It is this twin problems, Mr. Speaker, that has brought the country to where we are today. So, Mr. Speaker, as we respond to this call to help our own country overcome our economic challenges, what should we do? Mr. Speaker, what we should do, perhaps, is more clearly stated in what we should not do. We should stop putting pressure on government to spend on projects for which we have no money. And especially now, we should be asking government to spend on projects for which we have already committed the economy. Let the arrears that have piled, some of them very historical, let us put the resources we have into those arrears. Let us stop again putting pressure on government to take on new commitments. And Mr. Speaker, I say this on behalf of the Finance Committee. We will be looking to support government and to ensure that the resources we have go into existing projects instead of taking on additional projects. And we do this fully conscious that it is the point of government itself that this is how it intends to live, to help the economy live within its means. But Mr. Speaker, it will not be enough. It will not be enough to just rationalize expenditure. It is important that as we pay for these expenditures, that we check wastage. Mr. Speaker, this economy and the management of our country are all too familiar with wastage in the public sector. Once we plan within our means, Mr. Speaker, we also have to take steps to ensure that the public financial management strategies that have been outlined in the Act are enforced. And I take this opportunity again to call on members that we ought not to contribute to these irregularities. We should be checking these irregularities. Mr. Speaker, but it will not be sufficient to just handle expenditure. We need to ramp up our efforts to mobilize more domestic revenue. Everyone would have to pay their fair share of the taxes. If we want to lower taxes, we should do so for everybody. The practice of keeping our taxes in place and yet seek to exempt selected individuals from the payment of those taxes is completely unhelpful. We should get everybody, Mr. Speaker, to contribute to our efforts at mobilizing domestic revenue. By exempting individuals in the name of investment promotion, Mr. Speaker, we create two problems. The first is that we deny Ghana the opportunity of communicating that our investment climate is friendly because the taxes are in place. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, by encouraging the practice of selecting individuals and asking them and exempting them from taxation, we are creating the opportunities for corruption. We are creating the opportunities for corruption. So, Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity again to call on not just government, but also on ourselves to ensure that we get everybody to pay taxes. If we want to lower taxes, we should abolish those tax lines and let everybody be free of those taxes. Finally, Mr. Speaker, we should stop prophesying doom for our economy. We do not gain anything, Mr. Speaker, by always telling the international community, members of which are in discussion with our own government to ensure that they participate in the debt treatment that government is embarking on. And whilst our government is making the case for us, we sit here and we make damning statements about our own economy just because we want to achieve political ends. Mr. Speaker, as we proceed with this debate, I urge my colleagues, including those who are talking and are completely out of order that we should focus in selling our economy and getting the international community to give us the kind of support we need in order that as a country we would live beyond aid. I thank you, Mr. Speaker. My own colleagues. Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will proceed to offer my comments on the review by the minister. And as I started off, I think we should thank the minister for the review, for updating us on our efforts to overcome the economic challenges resulting not just from our economic management recently, but some of the historical weaknesses that have characterized the management of our economy. Mr. Speaker, I premise my comment on paragraph 40 of the minister's speech, and with your permission, I read. Mr. Speaker, as a nation, we must and will prevail. Indeed, our only recourse is to be successful at the upcoming first review of the program, and that is the IMF program in September 2023, and all other subsequent reviews. We are therefore respectfully calling on every member of this august House and fellow Ghanaians to support these reforms. Mr. Speaker, this is a court duty, and as we offer our comments on the minister's statement today, we must demonstrate that we are exchanging ideas to help improve the economy, and that we are not here to spell doom for our own economy or to score political points that in the end will be unhelpful to the cause of developing our people. Mr. Speaker, why has it become necessary to respond to this court duty? It has become necessary, Mr. Speaker, because the IMF program and the reference is the 17th in our nation's life. If we add the structural adjustment program and the HIPIC program, this is the 19th time we are seeking development partner bailout. We all know why. Mr. Speaker, we have been running for development partner bailout because we have been doing two wrong things. First, we have been spending money we do not have. But secondly, we have been spending on expenditures that have to be imported. It is this twin problems, Mr. Speaker, that has brought the country to where we are today. So, Mr. Speaker, as we respond to this call to help our own country overcome our economic challenges, what should we do? Mr. Speaker, what we should do, perhaps, is more clearly stated in what we should not do. We should stop putting pressure on government to spend on projects for which we have no money. And especially now, we should be asking government to spend on projects for which we have already committed the economy. Let the arrears that have piled, some of them very historical, let us put the resources we have into those arrears. Let us stop again putting pressure on government to take on new commitments. And Mr. Speaker, I say this on behalf of the Finance Committee, we will be looking to support government and to ensure that the resources we have go into existing projects instead of taking on additional projects. And we do this fully conscious that it is the point of government itself that this is how it intends to live, to help the economy live within its means. But Mr. Speaker, it will not be enough. It will not be enough to just rationalize expenditure. It is important that as we pay for these expenditures, that we check wastage. Mr. Speaker, this economy and the management of our country are all too familiar with wastage in the public sector to mobilize more domestic revenue. Everyone would have to pay their fair share of the taxes. If we want to lower taxes, we should do so for everybody. The practice of keeping our taxes in place and yet seek to exempt selected individuals from the payment of those taxes is completely unhelpful. We should get everybody, Mr. Speaker, to contribute to our efforts at mobilizing domestic revenue by exempting individuals in the name of investment promotion. Mr. Speaker, we create two problems. The first is that we deny Ghana the opportunity of communicating that our investment climate is friendly because the taxes are in place. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, by encouraging the practice of selecting individuals and asking them and exempting them from taxation, we are creating the opportunities for corruption. We are creating the opportunities for corruption. So, Mr. Speaker, I take this opportunity again to call on not just government, but also on ourselves to ensure that we get everybody to pay taxes. If we want.
What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief? Number one, the ordinary thief steals your money, your bag, your watch, and your jewelry, isn't it? But the political thief steals your future, your career, your education, your health, and your business. Number two, the hilarious part is that the ordinary thief will choose whom to rob. But you are the one who choose the political thief to rob you. Because we choose them. We vote them. We blindly say we are not blind. Who is deceiving who? The ridiculous part of the whole issue is that we will fight to defend and protect our belongings from the ordinary thief. Is it not? But we fight each other to defend and protect the political thief. Is that not what we do? Thugs will be fighting themselves to protect those that are stealing our career, stealing our joy, stealing our health, stealing our success. What a shame. What is the difference between the ordinary thief and a political thief?
If you reach a certain stage in life and there is nobody who can look you in the eye and tell you the truth, you are doomed. And that is where our country has gotten to. We need to rescue this country. Wallahi. And I feel very terrible as a Ghanaian at this time. This country is in serious trouble, ladies and gentlemen. We are in serious trouble. We need to rescue this country, ladies and gentlemen. The presidency has been so depraved, so muddied, so dirtied, that I tell you in all sincerity as a Ghanaian, that I feel terribly sad today as a Ghanaian. We need to rescue this country. Wallahi. Inshallah.
Please don't cry.
We shall rescue our country.
Government is broke, government is broke. But people are spending billions to go inside the government that is broke. Have you ever seen a minister who resigned because government is broke before? Government has no money. Have you ever seen a governor who said, ladies and gentlemen, when I was elected, I thought the government had money. Now I discover government has no money, I resign. Have you ever seen it? Government has no money, but they are bringing money out at election time. Where is that money coming from? So they are lying. What is happening is that there are two types of wicked people in government. Type 1, they eat current money. Any money they find in government, they will eat it. They are wicked about that one. There is type 2. Type 2, they eat current money and future money. They will say, my term will end next year. When I leave, how will I eat money? Let me borrow money now and borrow money of the future and eat it now.
Right, hello, good morning and welcome to the show. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. It's a Thursday, the 10th day of August, 2023. By His grace, we're live and we're here. We're yet another edition of the show. Our gratitude will go to Most High God for the rare privilege of being alive and, of course, the opportunity of having another conversation around the top stories making the rounds here in our dear Republic. I'll let you into our panel for the morning's conversation shortly, but let's take a look at the front pages of our newspapers. Daily Graphic. 60 billion cedis lost. We took half of debt haircut. Bank of Ghana. No tax stamp, no textile sale. Abugis flats under lock and key. Teachers commute from Accra, Koforidua to school. District level election. Easy to announce new dates. And there's a supplement on US-Ghana Business Expo 2023. Ghanaian Times. Amidst growing insecurity in Boku, students write BEC under police and military guard. Greater Accra Regional Coordinating Council awards 5,904 frontline workers for fight against COVID-19. Evaluating tax reforms, reduce e-levy to 0.5 to rake in more revenue, ISE. 12 tricycle drivers remanded for allegedly injuring police officers. Daily Guide. OSP freezes Cecilia Dapa accounts. CDS not sacked, Army Chief. Blay leads GMPC to Guyana confab. Man sentenced to death for sacrificing Kotsan. Ignore NDC Bank of Ghana propaganda, John Kuma. The New Crusading Guide. NPP cracks NDC over attack on Bank of Ghana governor. VALCO is now viable and lucrative. Deputy Lands Minister assures investors. We have not endorsed Dr. Akutu, Ashanti NPP founding fathers. Bawe Kwate family cautions public about Akuma J2's claim. Elembele DCE awards scholarship worth 4 million cedis to 420 tertiary students. Our win a Nigeria seat, gifting Doma assures. The Insight. Cuba, UN General Assembly calls on US to end embargo for the 29th consecutive year. Nunu Mensah warns ECOWAS leaders who war threats. Asidu Nketia blasts NPP presidential aspirants, likens them to 10 lepers. No court has declared Akumaje's two owners of Dansuma and Malam Market land, says Bawe Kwate family. Niger coup leaders rebuff diplomatic overtures from AU and ECOWAS. The Daily Statesman. Bank of Ghana remains solid. Deputy Minister urges public to ignore funny NDC. Baumia can break NDC strongholds. Eugene gears up to recapture Utu Senya West. UK set for 5 years of lost economic growth. Business Finder. NLA exempted from 10% tax. Other licensed private lotto operators cry foul. Inflation inches up to 43.1%. Double salary promo reloaded. EcoBank rewards 186. And that's about it. For the front pages, we'll be back shortly.
Enjoy the fruits of your labor, they say, but as humans, aging and physical infirmity stands our way of enjoying our mansions and homes. It often becomes challenging, if not impossible, to use our stairways day in, day out. With portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators, PVs, you are assured of unlimited enjoyment of your mansions and homes. It's a self-supported elevator for vertical movement of humans and goods at homes and offices. The original comes in 3 custom-made models with wheelchair accessibility. Call it luxury, but it's a necessary imperative for vertical mobility. Do not let aging or infirmity limit you. Get one for your easy vertical mobility at home. It's affordable and can be installed in just 3 days without modification to your existing building. It's however easier to incorporate it at the construction stage. We also have traditional Fuji elevators and escalators for your high-rise buildings and malls. Visit Lifts and Elevators Company Limited at Sakumono for your elevators nationwide. For free consultation to call or WhatsApp us on 0200-535-515. Lifts and Elevators, the elevator people.
Betway is your gateway to a theme park full of gaming excitement. A whirlpool of wonder where your favorite games come to life. Where you can take to the skies with max payouts that reach into the millions. All in the palm of your hand. Visit betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Bet responsibly. Betway. Bet your way.
Do you need a place with a stunning view and serene environment just beneath the Green Mountains with a commercial center and recreational area with an amazing park? Then look no further.
Hello, sir.
Hi.
Welcome to Rehoboth Havens, the most affordable yet luxurious gated community located in Damfa, Accra. We have 2 and 3 bedroom houses with spacious park. Let me show you. All of our rooms come with beautiful porcelain tiles, durable fitted kitchen cabinets,
constant water supply,
electricity and water 24/7.
I'm buying this house. Stop processing my papers. Move it. If you're living in Ghana and want an affordable and luxurious house to buy, look no further than Rehoboth Social Housing Limited. Oh, and to those from the diaspora, aren't you tired of living in places that doesn't belong to you? You can also own your house and be your own landlord from Rehoboth Social Housing Limited. I have my own Bosu landlord.
Contact us now. Rehoboth Social Housing. Your housing dream becomes reality.
For over 20 years of serving the world with herbal and alternative medicine, we've been successful in treating complicated medical conditions with a perfect combination of herbal and alternative methods of treatment like homeopathy, naturopathy, reflexology, and many more. We deliver excellent and effective service to people from all walks of life through scientific and traditional means. We have a well-equipped laboratory with advanced diagnostic and treatment devices to help detect your illness, so we know the right medication to be given. At Amen Scientific Herbal and Alternative Medical Hospital, we are proud manufacturers of our own herbal medication. Our zeal and passion to save lives with our patients at heart and outstanding achievements since 1996 has won us several awards. That is why we say, go herbal, go Amen. We are located everywhere in all the regions. Amen Scientific Herbal and Alternative Medical Hospital. Allahu Shafi, God is the He.
Yamawakwaba, the button Nadum Auto Fix and Accessories. Ahadie, a bano KSC near Wakadia. Ubenya Viviaha. Caribbean how any new here. Yansu ye were winning the four or best son ye amount. Nadum Auto Fix and Accessories ye jume did ye. 24/7 ye says you engine, brake, battery, yes a sound tie. Say bano car wash dia. Ye wo abe fun fidelity say steamer ye the whole car engine abra nsuo car engine nim. Ye san ye detailing metre say ye betwitwu car no mu ba bia ma. Ye wi a ye san polish car na ma kama. Enye we no munku ye san to car batteries, tires, rims, any the keke count. Manadum Auto Fix and Accessories Emma o car and seen it that them. Then where you mama. Hwehwe ye chira kwan wodan suma na sorry down ho a any KFC bon hwanimu e won kran. Se open information anansem bi se bia. Fresh 024 651 9369. Nadum Auto Fix and Accessories.
To help meet your business and private printing needs successfully, we have just the right products and services. At Appointed Time Printing Limited, we specialize in digital printing, offset printing, packaging and security printing. Our innovative designs and complete professional touch on our print products such as posters, flyers, brochures, magazines, poll cards and any other print solution of your choice ensure that our customers are always happily connected to their audience. With our security printing section, our clients are assured of a highly secured and confidential work process from start to finish. At Appointed Time, our prices are very competitive. Locate us at the old GNTC building near Swansea Shopping Arcade, Accra. Contact us on 0501 454165, 0501 454167. Appointed Time Printing Limited. Our printing is the solution.
JA Plant Food Ghana Limited has introduced the all-new Jetto X70 Plus to the market. Jetto an exceptional engine warranty of 4 years or 100,000 kilometers, giving you the ultimate peace of mind for years to come.
into success with Accra Business School. Boost your career with a prestigious MSc degrees from KNUST. Pick from Human Resource Management, Communication and International Relations, Public Affairs. In just 12 months, our MBA can be yours. Dive into our BSc programs in IT security and cybercrime, IT management and business and management, endorsed by top universities in Ireland and Wales. We offer flexible entry, payment and learning options. It's time to unlock your potential and take flight. Visit www.abs.edu.gh or dial 0263 888 555. Let Accra Business School elevate your future today.
Right, welcome back to the show if you just joined us. This is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. With me on the show this morning, I have the Communications Director of the NPP, Richard Ahiagba. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Also with me on the show this morning is the National Communications Officer of the NDC, the legal practitioner, Sammy Jemfi. Good morning, Sammy.
Good morning, Doc.
Is it okay to call you a legal practitioner?
Yeah.
Do you practice?
Once a while. Yeah, once a while I do that anytime I have time.
Maybe you're rather a political practitioner.
There's nothing like that. Once a while I make time.
That's
political communications practitioner.
It's true, that takes a chunk of my time. Yes. Once a while
you find
I make time. I make time to go to the chamber.
Bail applications. You file a few motions here and there. Anyway, so enjoy the fruits of your labor, they say, but as humans, aging and physical infirmity stand our way of enjoying our mansions and homes as well as offices. It often becomes challenging, if not impossible, to use the stairway day in and day out. Worry no more, because with the PVs, I'm talking about portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators, you're sure of unlimited enjoyment of your mansions and homes. It's a simple to use self-supported elevator for vertical movement of humans and goods at homes and offices. The original comes in 3 custom-made models with wheelchair accessibility to choose from. You may call it luxury, but it's a necessary imperative for vertical mobility. Do not let aging or infirmity limit you. Get one for your easy vertical mobility at home or office. It's affordable and can be installed within 3 days with modification to your building. Visit Lift and Elevators Ghana at Sakumono for your solutions and free consultations. Call them now on 0200535515, 0200535515, or email at elevatorsgh@gmail.com. And what does wealth mean, Mola? Nobody beats our odds in Ghana. Game Park Games, more Mola, more power. And this game is regulated by the National Lottery Authority and not for persons under 18. Play responsibly. Well, if you're thinking about securing your future with that degree or that master's degree, you need to do it with Accra Business School. You can boost your career with their prestigious MSc degrees from KNUST. Okay, one of the panelists attended that school. Pick from Human Resource Management, Communication and International Marketing, International Relations, Public Affairs, or IT Management. In just 12 months, and be yours. Dive into the BSc programs in IT Security and Cybercrime, IT Management and Business Management, endorsed by top universities in Ireland and Wales. The Accra Business School offers flexible entry payment and learning options convenient to you. It's time to unlock your potential and take position. Visit www.abs.edu.gh or call the Accra Business School on 0263 888 555, 0263 888 555, or 0263 888 666, 0263 888 666, or visit the campus at Spintex Road, Christ Square. Let Accra Business School elevate your future today. Right. Okay, so it's time for us to start our discussion. And, well, Bank of Ghana. All right. That's the biggest story this morning. Okay. But I saw a video, excerpts of news file in 2013. And I found the submissions, especially of Mr. Gabriel Chidaku, quite fascinating, revealing, and telling. Maybe we set a tone with that.
It's being efficient in terms of the mechanisms that are being put in place.
Fatigue out there relative to this rationalization.
Okay, now
there's a serious fatigue out there.
Gabi, let's hear you. Yeah.
People are tired. Listening to this.
We are in serious crisis. And some of us forecast that by August 2014, if you're not careful, the government will shut down without any support from the opposition, as we are seeing in America. And I tell you, it's because of the fiscal situation. Let me give you an example. Last year, for instance, you set a target for yourself that you borrow from the domestic market 2.7 billion, and you ended up borrowing 7 billion.
Incredible.
A target for yourself that you borrow 2.7 billion from the domestic market, you ended up 7 billion. Over the last 8 years, it's talking about election petition. Over that period, they borrowed 8 billion. In the 8 months of the election petition, over 1.1 billion on average a month.
What is your source?
I'm coming. My source is the Bank of Ghana. Why we think of, please. Let's stop the propaganda.
From where?
Please, I beg you.
You don't just throw figures about.
Look,
Gabi, it's a legitimate question to ask you what your source is.
I just told him Bank of Ghana.
So move. I'm disputing that. Okay, so support. There's no such figures from Bank of Ghana. He's saying there is no figures. No, I didn't bandit figures around. No, he's not banding. So tell us what the figure is if it is not what he's saying. Yes, Gabi.
Yeah. Now, when you look at it, and you know the difficulty is, I think the Chronicle call it Mahamanomics. And they said borrow and borrow and borrow. It is, what is happening is, you tax, you borrow and spend. You tax, you borrow and spend. And you borrow more to pay debts. So what is happening now? Look, government can even borrow as much as 27%. I'm talking about all these state institutions that they are allowed to go and borrow. If government is borrowing that high, at that rate, and is going out there to take all the money, and is taking the money not for productive stuff, but to pay debt. It's gone out now for about 600 million bonds. Okay? It is to pay debt. So what you're doing is, you are running into a vicious cycle of borrowing and borrowing more to pay debt. And whilst you are doing so, you're crowding out the private sector. Industries are suffering. Utility prices have gone up. Industries are suffering. So you can't raise enough taxes. So you have to go and borrow more to pay debt. And you borrow and borrow and borrow to pay debt, and there's no productivity. Let me tell you.
So you stop borrowing. Is that part of the solution?
I'm just saying it's because we don't have a strategy.
No, because a while ago
let me tell you why we don't have a strategy.
Complaining about the government not being heady about borrowing.
It is a government without strategy. Let me tell you, if you have strategy, my brother, you don't go and overspend on stuff like Maslock. You don't go and overspend on stuff that are not necessarily even critical. You don't pay for like secondary subsidies, education subsidies. You don't pay for GetFund, and yet you invest in LESDEP, you invest in GIDA, and all these things, and you pay more than what the budget are. And look, what is happening now? Even, what's this? They set up this ministry. What's it? Tony Aju's thing.
Yeah.
It's supposed to monitor and evaluate.
They're also broke.
They are broke. NDPC is broke. So you're asking yourself, what really is the framework? Because even these things, you're supposed to have set them up to make sure that you're on track.
When you listen to Tony Adu, he sounds as if it's not just a question of being broke.
I agree.
But it's a question of what the government priority is.
Absolutely.
The government may not, the president may not want
he became redundant.
Yeah.
And you know what is happening? Look, at the moment, let me tell you how the difficult situation we're in. Usually when you talk of budget deficit, what it is that you spend more than you put in the budget. isn't it?
Yeah, that's
what is happening now. Okay, we are running a budget deficit by underspending. And you know why you're underspending and running a budget deficit? Because your revenue targets are not being met. So you are spending more than what you are raising, and not hitting your target. And you know what that means? Look at capital expenditure. We are below capital expenditure. Even goods and services, we're about 400 million Ghana cedis below what we targeted this year. So what it is that the productivity, even businesses are suffering, and all you are doing with the borrowing is to pay salaries and to pay more debt. And my brothers, I'm telling you, if by August this year, this government doesn't shut down, then it must find a way to go around it, because
you don't believe in the solutions that they are proffering.
They have no solution. There's no solution, because you know.
Is it the case that you think that you have a superior solution or they don't have a solution? Because the minister just told you.
Let me tell you. What solution? Let me tell you what has been happening. Okay.
I will do that in a minute because I need to take a break at this point.
A typical example. A typical example is this JIDA thing. It is, let's not joke with it. Youth unemployment is the major issue in this country. You spend 1 billion in 4 years, and you can't tell us the impact of that on youth unemployment. 1 billion in 4 years. Tell us the impact. So basically what it is that, would it give us any political advantage? Let's spend money there. We forget about priorities, and what will give you political advantage is what you spend.
Let me remind you.
It is, to me, listen, it is a sad situation.
Gabi, let me stop here.
When you finish, look, I can give you an indication of the areas where.
What it means is that we'll continue this discussion
and then. Are going to
right. Thank you very
much. All right. So I guess that sets the tone for this morning's conversation. Well, it's always good to go into the archives and find some rather interesting commentary on the state of our economy. Sammy, the minority in Parliament, your group, we held a presser on the Bank of Ghana. The Bank of Ghana has issued two statements, actually. One specific to the presser, and another one that deals with general issues. Okay, so I'd like us to go through this response, and then since it's a response to what your side said, I'll take your views on it. So for the benefit of our viewers, our audience who have not seen or read the statement, I'll go through it, and we'll also put it on the screen so you can read along with us. Response to Parliament's Minority Group on Bank of Ghana's 2022 published annual report and financial statements. Background to large jumps in key expenditure lines in 2022. It says comparing 2022 financial performance to 2021 without taking cognizance of the economic situation in the country is misleading. The year 2022 was the peak of economic and social crisis in Ghana. A culmination of fiscal overruns and debt distress resulted in Ghana losing access to both international and domestic markets. The rating agencies downgraded Ghana to the junk category with huge macroeconomic imbalances. The cedi depreciated sharply from 6 cedis to the dollar at the end of 2021 to almost 13.1 to the dollar at the end of November 2022. Until it came down to about 8.57 to the dollar at the end of December 22, resulting in about 30% on a year-on-year basis and average 31.13%. Similarly, inflation rose from an average of 12.62% at the end of December 2021 to 54.1% at the end of December 2022. These developments had a significant impact on operations of the bank and every other entity in the country. A year-on-year comparison of the financial statements of all entities in Ghana would reveal these sharp jumps. Now, it says below are some specific examples and how these developments impacted the bank's operations. Vehicle maintenance expenses. Firstly, the vehicle maintenance expenses line is a generic name for expense covering fuel cost for all BOG operations, insurance for all BOG fleet of vehicles, car parts replacement, and other maintenance costs. Historically, fuel cost has accounted for about 90% of this vehicle maintenance expenditure line. For 2022, the fuel cost increased by 123.3%. compared to 28.9% in 2021. This was on the back of petrol and diesel prices increasing from 6,618 pesos per litre of petrol and 6.665 cedis per litre of diesel at the end of 2021 to 16.5811 per litre of petrol and 19.605 per litre of diesel at the end of 2022. This implies increase of 149%, average 87%, and then 194%, average 122% for the year 2022 alone. Given the scale of the bank's operations, ensuring that the currency is distributed to every corner of the country to ensure seamless medium of exchange of our legal tender, the cedi, such a cost is a major line in our operations, and any such changes would lead to a huge jump. Also, car parts, etc., are all linked to the dollar, and converting this to Ghana cedis at the exchange rate in 2022 would also lead to a huge jump in expenses under vehicle maintenance. We also had significant increases in insurance costs, etc., for all our fleet of vehicles and bullion vans across the country. Communication expenses. The major item under communication is electronic data transmission charges, including the Reuters and Bloomberg platforms, which supports our reserve management and management of petroleum funds as well as currency and exchange rates, constituted about 57.4% of the total communications cost. This was followed by publications and gazettes, 15%, advertisement, 10%, newspapers, 0.75%, newspapers foreign, 0.46%. So that's the communications expense. The computer expenses. The jump in computer expenses is mainly the result of the bank's asset replacement policy, which was implemented in 2022, where most of the desktop computers were replaced with laptops. This is in line with the bank's business continuity policy following lessons learned from COVID-19 pandemic to allow for flexible working arrangements. In addition, all these hardware and software license purchases were in US dollars and exchange rate depreciated, and the inflation both domestically and globally impacted the cedi equivalent on the books of the central market. Foreign and domestic travel expenses. Like other expenditure lines, the foreign and domestic travel reflects sharply the exchange rate and inflation effects, and not necessarily increased number of travels. The supervision staff travel to visit every single regulated institution and their branches spread all over the country at least once a year. This is a huge operation and a core function of the bank, which constitutes a significant expenditure line of the bank's operations. In addition, the Bank of Ghana takes continuous professional development seriously to maintain the standards required of a modern central bank. External directors' expenses. This expenditure line is made up of logistics to run the board secretariat, board training, and external directors' fees. They were all heavily affected by inflation and exchange rate movements during the year. On the issue of waiver or write-offs without recourse to Parliament as per Section 53(1)(2) of the PFM Act. Firstly, the Bank of Ghana's understanding is that the Minister of Finance in his 2023 budget statement, which was approved by Parliament, had a policy of debt restructuring as a key policy initiative. Any further discussion on parliamentary approvals beyond what was approved in the 2023 budget would be handled by the Ministry of Finance. Let me read that again. On the issue of waiver or write-offs without recourse to Parliament, as per Section 53(1)(2) of the PFM Act, and we'll show you what that portion of the Act says. It says, firstly, the BOG's understanding is that the Minister for Finance in his 2023 budget statement, which was approved by Parliament, had a policy of debt restructuring as a key policy initiative. Any further discussion on parliamentary approvals beyond what was approved in the 2023 budget will be handled by the Ministry of Finance. Secondly, beyond the parliamentary approval, the IFRS accounting standard, which requires the full implementation of the expected credit loss, meant that a mere announcement by the government of a debt restructuring will trigger ECL applications and impairment charged. On this score, the issue of parliamentary approval or not will not stop an ECL application and impairments on the books of BOG. And lastly, on this point, the Minister has followed up on his intentions and has submitted a letter to the Bank of Ghana detailing out terms of the exchange. All conditions precedent seeking parliamentary approval to allow for the exchange of BOG's non-marketable instruments under a domestic debt exchange have been satisfied. All conditions precedent seeking parliamentary approval to allow for the exchange of the BOG's non-marketable instruments under the domestic debt exchange have been satisfied. We'll move on to the new Bank of Ghana headquarters. There's a structural integrity assessment conducted by the BOG revealed that the current Bank of Ghana head office building built by the Nkrumah government in the early 60s is no longer fit for purpose and could not stand any major earth tremors. The outcome of the structural integrity work was that the main building does not satisfy the full complement of excess strength required for a building to be considered safe for usage. This means that in the case of a worst-case gravity and wind loading scenario, for example, unusually strong wind, the building may be significantly affected. The building also does not have the required strength to withstand the expected imposed significant earthquake loads that will be expected to occur in the Accra area. Based on the above, and looking at the strategic objective of positioning Ghana as the financial hub of the sub-region, with prospects of a potential headquarters for a future regional central bank, the board and management of the bank considered a new head office building as the most important priority project to support the operational efficiency of the bank, and also position the Bank of Ghana in a very good position to be the host of the regional central bank, as we currently host the West African Monetary Institute of the sub-region. So these are the responses to the issues raised by the minority. There, however, is a second one. Yes, there's a second one, because there are a few issues in that one that are not in this response. And it says that the Bank of Ghana releases full year 2020 audited financial statements on 28 July 2023. The financial statements reported a total loss of 60 billion cedis, which has since become a matter of unfortunate politicization. It is noteworthy that 53.1 billion of those losses were a direct result of the government's domestic debt restructuring exercise, phase 1 and 2. It is important to put the Bank of Ghana's 2022 financial results in proper context with a clear statement of the problem that Ghana faced and the chronology of events in Ghana since 2019. There was a clear mismatch between revenue inflows and expenditure finance in 2020 by exceptional support from the IMF and World Bank resources, in addition to financing from the Bank of Ghana through the issuance of the 10 billion Ghana cedis COVID-19 bond. As a result, sovereign spreads on Ghana bonds widened, signaling investor dissatisfaction with the stance of fiscal policy. The budget for 2020, which was read in 2021, failed to address fiscal concerns, as the budget was even more expansionary by about 23%, with a raft of revenue measures to raise financing. As a result, the credit rating agencies further downgraded Ghana's sovereign debt rating, which blocked Ghana's access to international capital market borrowings. This triggered a liquidity crisis, spilling over into a balance of payment crisis. External and domestic payments needed to be made. The domestic auction was failing, and the Bank of Ghana had to step in to arrest a major economic and social crisis. In 2 months, the Bank of Ghana lost $500 million in reserves and built significant overdraft to the government as a result of the auction failures. It became clear that Ghana was on a path that was unsustainable, and the government had to approach the IMF for support in July 2022. The IMF process included putting into place a credible program of reform, which included restructuring of the total government debt to sustainable levels until staff-level agreement with the IMF was reached in December 2022. The Bank of Ghana had to continue to provide necessary support to keep the economy running. In line with the provisions of the Bank of Ghana Act 612 as amended, the bank informed the Minister of the Development in its finances. The Minister reported this to Parliament as part of his briefing to Parliament on the IMF program and the domestic debt exchange. A major plank of the corrective action required for the IMF program was the domestic debt exchange, where the stock of Government of Ghana debt was to be halved from 105% of GDP to 55% of GDP by 2028. The holders of government debt had their debt instruments exchanged for new ones with lower interest payments and longer terms. Despite the losses inflicted on households and banks, the threshold of 55% of GDP was not met. The Bank of Ghana was used to close the gap to enable Ghana meet the debt threshold that qualified Ghana for the IMF program. Bank of Ghana therefore acted as a loss absorber. This means the Bank of Ghana had to absorb a 50% haircut on its non-marketable holdings of government debt instruments. This singular act led to significant impairment losses of 32.3 billion to the bank's accounts. Impairments of marketable instruments also accounted for another 16.1 billion cedis, bringing the total impairments of government holdings to 48.4 billion cedis. As experienced by central banks globally, price and exchange rate movements led to a loss of 5.2 billion, while impairments of cocoa board loans amounted to 4.7 billion cedis. This is the reason the Bank of Ghana reported a loss of 60 billion cedis in 2022. Central banks are not commercial banks. This financial outcome has very little implication for the operations of the Bank of Ghana, as supported by evidence from other central banks. Technically, central banks cannot be insolvent or bankrupt. Bank of Ghana assures key stakeholders and the general public that they are committed to the highest standard of prudent management governance and transparent accounting and audit practices. Sammy?
Yeah. Doc, first of all, a very good morning to our cherished viewers. The statement from the Bank of Ghana, which purports to respond to the pressed conference of the National Democratic Congress on the state of our central bank, is totally worthless and useless. As a matter of fact, Doc, that statement is not worthy of the sheet of paper it was printed on. And I say so for two main reasons. Number one, the statement does not address the fundamental issues that the NDC raised concerning the current health of the Bank of Ghana and the underlying factors or the actions and inactions of the bank that has led to that. The statement doesn't in any way address the fundamental issues we raise. Number two, the statement is worthless and useless because it provides very flimsy and contrived excuses for the outrageous expenditures the bank engaged in last year, which, coupled with the mismanagement of the bank, has led to the crisis we have on our hands. But Doc, before I explain this, you see, for those who do not appreciate the context within which we are having this conversation, or the background to this conversation, let me say that this conversation has come about because the Bank of Ghana itself has published on its website their 2022 annual reports and financial statements, compiled by their auditors, Deloitte and Touche. And in that report, which is an audit report of the previous fiscal year 2022, it is stated that the Bank of Ghana, our bank as a country, made losses to the tune of 60.8 billion Ghana cedis. This is unprecedented in the history of the bank. In old cedi terms, you are talking about over 6 quadrillion. This is the equivalent of $6 billion. Twice as much, or if you like, twice the amount of money we are hoping to get from the IMF through the bailout program we are currently implementing. We are hoping to get $3 billion from the IMF over a period of 3 years. And yet, in 1 year, the Bank of Ghana has been so mismanaged that it has made losses to the tune of $6 billion. Now, what this means is that the Bank of Ghana today is in a position where it cannot service its debt. Because aside the losses they made, their equity, which is more or less the capital of the bank, stand currently at negative 55.1 billion Ghana cedis. Negative 55.1 billion Ghana cedis. Means that their liabilities have gone up so much and swallowed their assets that if you deduct their assets from their liabilities, you get negative 55.1 billion. That is how I can simplify it for the ordinary man to understand. So the Bank of Ghana is at a point of bankruptcy. The Bank of Ghana is broke. And this affects all of us because, you know, the Bank of Ghana is the bank of the country. The government of Ghana is the sole shareholder of the Bank of Ghana. And so when the Bank of Ghana makes profits, it transfers that to government. It transfers it into the consolidated fund because government is a shareholder. Like when companies make profits, they pay the profits in the form of dividends to their shareholders. It's the same thing. When they post losses, the losses are that of the shareholder, in this case, the government of Ghana, and we will have to pay for it. And so in our press conference, we sought to diagnose, and indeed diagnosed, what has led to this crisis. What has led to this unprecedented loss and negative equity. And it was very clear from all the facts that the Bank of Ghana is in this quagmire, in this mess, primarily because of two things. Number one, the illegal and criminal printing of money for the reckless Akufo-Addo Bawumia nation-wrecking government. And number two, outrageous so-called operational expenses the bank engaged in last year. These two factors are the main factors why the Bank of Ghana is in this mess. So the Bank of Ghana decides to issue a statement to respond to our press statements. And what do they have to say about the main fundamental reasons why we say we are in this mess, which is the illegal and criminal printing of money to the government? Absolutely nothing. I have read this statement from the first sentence to the last statement. There is not a word, there is not a phrase, there is not a sentence, there is not a paragraph, Doc, that responds to our fundamental issue, which has to do with the bank's illegal and criminal printing of money for President Akufo-Addo and Bawumia.
Let me read this to you.
Okay.
So on page 3 of the response to the minority, it says that firstly, the BOG's understanding is that the Minister for Finance, this is
different. This talks about the writing of.
Yes.
This is writing of. I'm talking about the printing of money.
Just hold on.
Yes.
Firstly, the BOG's understanding is that the Minister of Finance's 2023 budget statement, which was approved by Parliament, had a policy of debt restructuring as a key policy initiative. Any further discussion on parliamentary approvals beyond what was approved in the 2023 budget will be handled by the Ministry of Finance. Now, if you look at the second statement.
Yes. But look, I'm not talking about the second statement now. Yes. I'm talking about, this is a statement in response to our press conference.
True.
And I'm saying, during our press conference, the main issue we raised was that you are in this mess because you have illegally printed money. About 80 billion cedis for the government in 2021 and in 2022, which government has failed to pay, which is what has led to the unprecedented losses you have made. I'm saying that they have issued a statement in direct response to that press conference without a word on that. That should tell us something. What that tells any reasonable, objective mind is that they have no response. What is the issue? Look, we are saying that in 2021, the Bank of Ghana printed a whopping 35 billion Ghana cedis for the Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government.
You mean 2022?
2021.
Okay.
35.
Okay.
Then in 2022, they printed another 45 billion Ghana cedis for the government. These are quadrillions of money in terms of old Ghana cedis that they printed. And we are saying that what they did is criminal because the Bank of Ghana is an institution established by law. The Constitution, specifically Article 183, the Bank of Ghana Act, and so on. And that law, which governs the work of the Bank of Ghana, stipulates or provides for how it can print money for government and how much it can print. And look, that law, as Section 30, and here I'm talking about the amended law, Bank of Ghana Act 2016, Act 918, which amended Bank of Ghana Act 2002, Act 612. It says that, yes, the Bank of Ghana is the banker of government. And so if government is in crisis, government can go to the Bank of Ghana for an overdraft or a loan, just like all of us in our normal lives, when we are in crisis or when we are in need of money, can go to our banks for loans. But the law was very, very careful in the kind of in the words it used. It said, when the government goes for a loan, the bank may give government that loan. Not shall. It is not mandatory. Meaning that the bank must exercise a certain discretion to determine whether it is prudent or not for it to loan government money. May. And when they even decide to loan government money, and when we say Bank of Ghana is loaning money to government, what it basically means is that they are printing money for them, because they are not a deposit-taking institution like commercial banks who will loan you money from the deposits of other customers. They will have to print money to loan government money. So the law says even if they decide to loan the government money, the total loans they give to the government must not exceed 5% of the total revenue of the previous fiscal year. So in 2021, that the Bank of Ghana printed as much as 35 billion for the government. What was the total revenue of the previous fiscal year 2020? It was 55 billion. What is 5% of that? 5% of that is 2.75 billion. Now the Bank of Ghana did not exceed that by 1% or 2% or 10% or 20%. Instead of 2.75 billion, they printed 35 billion. Close to 60% of the total revenue of the previous year, when they are supposed to do 5%. So this is not just a breach, this is a breach with impunity. Then you come to 2022 when they printed 45 billion for the government. What was the total revenue of the previous year, 2021? It was 76 billion. And 5% of that is not more than 3.7 billion. Instead of 3.7 billion, they printed 45 billion. They did more than 50%, in fact, close to 60% of the total revenue of the previous year. Another impunity. Now, the Bank of Ghana Act, under that same Section 30, says that when the bank loans money to government, it is not free money. The government must pay the money within 3 months. And the Bank of Ghana must ensure that they pay the money within 3 months. But you see, the lawmakers were so wise. They knew that we could have an emergency as a country, which may require the Bank of Ghana to loan money more than the 5% threshold of the total revenue of the previous year. So they provided for that. Under subsection 6, that in terms of emergency, when we have an emergency as a country, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, the finance minister, and the controller and accountant general can sit and set a new ceiling. So that they can say that because of this emergency, we will not do 5%, we will do 20%. Doc, you understand? And the law says when they set that new limit, the finance minister must go to Parliament, the institution that has oversight over the public purse and public funds. The institution that represents the people of this country, go to Parliament and inform Parliament of the new limit. The Bank of Ghana, both in 2021 and in 2022, together with the Kufuor Bawumia MPP government, the finance minister, they failed to set any new limit, and they failed to inform Parliament of any new limit, if any exists. Aside that, the law is clear that if we are not in emergencies, but in normal times, your threshold is 5%. You are not supposed to exceed the 5%. And that immediately you reach the 5%, you reach it, there is trouble. So you know what you have to do as a bank? Write to the finance minister and to Parliament that, hey, the 5% threshold, we have reached it. Not exceeded, we have reached it. We have attained it. And then the finance minister is supposed to present a report to Parliament on how we can correct the situation. Not on how we can exceed, how we can correct the situation. So this is a very important, it is at the heart of the issues we are raising. Because it is at the heart of the crisis, the bottomless pit the Bank of Ghana has been plunged into by Alhaji Bawumia and Ken Ofori-Atta. And for the benefit of those who are not privy to the laws I'm referring to, let me read it for them.
So let me just put it on the screen. I put it out yesterday.
Okay.
So let me just put the first one will be the section 30 of Act 612 amended.
Okay, so you put it there. Let me just read through. I have the one which is amended.
Yes.
But just quickly, it says that the bank may, so it's not compulsory, make advances and loans to the government on overdraft or in any other form that the board may determine. You may do that. May give them a loan in the form of overdraft or in any other form. Subsection 2, the total loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills and securities made under subsection 1 shall not at any time, that is the operative phrase, exceed 5% of the total revenue of the previous fiscal year. You know the history of this provision? Under President Kufuor, when the original act was passed.
So for our viewers, that's what's on the screen.
Yes.
So you can read it.
Under the Kufuor administration 2002, when we passed the original act, it provided that the Bank of Ghana may provide loans in the form of overdraft or other forms to the government, but that the total of those loans shall not at any time exceed 10% of the total revenue of the previous fiscal year. So President Mahama had the right, when we were in crisis, due to doomsday, due to plummeting oil and gold prices, to say that, look, Bank of Ghana print 10% of the total revenue of the previous year. But as wise as he is, and being minded of the national interest, the well-being, the health of the Bank of Ghana, the health of the economy, knowing the risk associated with irresponsible printing of money and how that can lead to inflation and how that hyperinflation, if not controlled, can wipe out the purchasing power of the ordinary Ghanaian through demand push inflation, decided to amend the law in 2016 that yes, the law allows me to do 10%, but let's bring it down to 5%. That is a wise leader. He brings it down to 5%, and in 2016, despite the challenge, despite the fact that we had elections, despite the fact that there was pressure on him to pay allowances to teacher trainees and nursing trainees, he said, no, I won't crash this election because of power, because of my this economy because of power, because of my selfish gain or whatever. He did not take 1 peso from the Bank of Ghana in the form of a loan or overdraft. They didn't print any money for him. Now, subsection 3 says, an advance made under subsection 1 shall be repaid within 3 months after the grant of the advance. And where that advance remains unpaid after the due date, the power, Doc, listen to this, the power of the bank to make further advances in a subsequent financial year shall not be exercised unless the amounts due in respect of outstanding advances have been repaid. So in 2021, you printed 35 billion cedis and you loaned it to government. They didn't pay for it. And the law is clear that because they have not paid for it, in 2022, the subsequent year, you can't give them new money. Yet in breach of this, you printed another 45 billion. I'm showing you the criminality. Then subsection 4 says, let me even jump subsection 4 and come to subsection 5. The bank shall charge interest on advances granted under this section. So when they give the Ghana loan, they print money for them, they will charge interest on that by law. Then subsection 6 says, in the event of any emergency, the governor, the minister, and the controller and accountant general shall meet to decide the limit of borrowing that should be made by government. And the minister shall submit a report on the issue to parliament within 7 sitting days. Within 7 sitting days. When did we get an emergency? And when was parliament informed within 7 sitting days that a new limit has been set? Nothing of that nature has happened. Because at all material times, as the NDC minority were raising issues that you are printing money for government, and Randy Abe was raising similar issues on Good Morning Ghana, they were busy issuing statements insulting you people that you were lying. Meanwhile, that was what they were doing. Then, last subsection 7 says, where the total of loans, advances, purchases of treasury bills, and securities made under subsection 1 is 5%, not has exceeded 5%, is 5% of the previous fiscal year's total revenue. The governor shall notify the minister and parliament of the attainment of the limit under subsection 2. And the minister, upon notification, shall report to parliament on the remedial measures to be taken. Not to exceed, but remedial. How do you correct it?
So let me read this to you. On the second press statement, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5. It's just 3 lines. In line with the provisions of the Bank of Ghana Act, Act 612 as amended, the bank informed the Minister of the Development in its finances. The minister reported this to Parliament as part of his briefing to Parliament on the IMF program and the domestic debt exchange. Now, this is the only paragraph that speaks to issues of breach of the law.
Yes, but even this one, if you look at the heading, they are talking about the writing of, which is what I'm coming to.
No. I have moved beyond the response to the minority to the second statement.
To the second statement,
yes.
Okay.
So look at paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is the only paragraph that speaks about breaches of the law.
Okay.
And this is the response.
Okay.
In line with the provisions of the Bank of Ghana Act, Act 612 as amended, the bank informed the Minister of the Development in its finances. What it means is that, 1, the bank is referring to the 36. It's not referring to the one that deals with emergencies. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. And it says the minister reported this to Parliament as part of his briefing to Parliament on the IMF program and domestic debt exchange. What it means is that, as far as the central bank is concerned, this is the compliance.
No.
You don't get me.
No, but that cannot be.
You don't get the point I'm making.
No,
I'm saying that per this statement, this is the Bank of Ghana's response to the issues of breach of the law.
Yes.
And the Bank of Ghana believes that, it says, in line with the provisions of the Act, as amended, the bank informed the Minister of the Development in its finances, which is the first leg, which says when you hit 5, inform the minister.
It is not even that. It's a totally disagree, because, Doc, number 1, subsection 3 says, if they have not paid the loan you have given to them in the previous year, don't give them.
You still don't get the point I'm making.
I'm
just telling you that in the 2 statements on the issue of breach of the law, this is the paragraph that the central bank spends to answer the question of the breach of the law.
But that doesn't answer the question.
No, I'm not saying that they have.
I understand you perfectly.
I'm not saying they have answered it correctly or wrongly.
So I get you saying that this is their answer.
Yes.
So I want to scrutinize their answer.
Right.
And I'm saying that, number 1, you can check the Hansard of Parliament. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has never informed Parliament of the attainment of the 5% threshold.
Yes.
Neither has he ever informed Parliament of a new limit to the threshold that the Bank of Ghana can, loan to government because of an emergency. No new limit has been communicated to Parliament.
Don't even get there, because the Bank of Ghana does not refer us to any meeting involving the governor,
and the controller.
General, the controller, and the finance minister,
where they set a new limit.
No, they are just referring to the portion that says that when you
attain 5%,
inform the minister, and they are saying that
they inform the minister,
and then they are saying that the minister, in briefing Parliament on DDEP, said something.
But the DDEP report was in 2023. We are talking about crimes you have committed in 2021 and 2022. In any case, Doc, when you read this statement, all the preceding paragraph talks about, and I don't have time to read, but what you read, okay, it is not even referring to the attainment of the 5%.
Yes.
Because they are basically talking about economic difficulties we've had in 2022. That's what they are talking about. They make no reference to monies they have printed to governments for which the 5% threshold has been attained. They are talking about, because look at the operative word, in line with the provisions of the Bank of Ghana as amended, the bank informed the Minister of Development in its finances. We are talking about specifically the attainment of the 5% threshold, not developments in your finances in general. So this does not even satisfy the requirements of the law imposed on them by Section 30. And Section 67 of the Bank of Ghana Act says, except as otherwise provided in this act, a person who contravenes a provision of this act, Ken Ofori-Atta is a person, so. Addison and his governors and his board, they are all persons, so. A person who contravenes a provision of this act or regulations made under this act, or anything prescribed or direction made or given under this act and published in the Gazette, commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine not exceeding 500 penalty units. For the non-lawyers, an offense means a crime. Or to imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years, or to both. So when we talk about the criminal quadrants, who are responsible for economic mess, this is what we mean. What they have done is an unpardonable crime against the laws of this country. And they have committed this crime with obscene impunity. And here you are talking about the chairman of the economic management team, Alhaji Bawumia, the finance minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, the governor of the bank, Addison. You know, the three of them constitute a committee called Economic Policy Coordinating Committee, which is a subcommittee of the economic management team chaired by Bawumia, of which the governor is a member. And so when Bawumia was saying that the money is there, I've worked at the Bank of Ghana before, yeah, the money is there, they were referring to a printing machine at the Bank of Ghana that they could resort to print money in the billions and waste the money. The question every person watching should ask, including MPP people, is that 80 billion has been printed for your government in 2 years. Have you seen the effect of the 80 billion on employment? Have you seen the effect of the 80 billion in terms of government settling its arrears to contractors, school feeding caterers, food suppliers? Have you seen the effect of this 80 billion? Sikane Wahefa. Then apart from that, to add insult to injury, the law says government must pay within 3 months. That is why it is called temporary advance. The government, because they have misused the money, cannot pay. So they've gone to sit, the three of them, Bawumia, Ken Ofori-Atta, Addison, they've gone to sit down. And they are saying, oh, that money you've given us, yeah, gave you, but we can't pay. So you know what you do? Write off about 32 billion of that money, about 50% of that money. Write it off, bad debt, we can pay. That is another crime. You see, Addison, Ken Ofori-Atta, they are jail bears walking free. These are jail-bound people. Because, Doc, for the life of me, I do not see how these people can escape the full rigors of the law under the next NDC government, inshallah, in 2025. There is no way that you are prosecuting people, some of whom you have jailed for breaching public procurement law. And you come and breach the Bank of Ghana Act, the Public Financial Management Act, with such impunity, and you think, Doc, look at how they wrote off. You think you go scot-free? Okay. Look, there is the law, again, has provided for how public funds, which are loaned to an institution or a person, can be written off. You understand? And that is precisely Section 53 of the Public Financial Management Act. And if you want to know whether or not this Section 53 applies to the Bank of Ghana, just check Section 2 of the Act on applicability. It says that this Act applies to a covered entity. That's 2A. Then when you check Section 102, a covered entity is defined. Let me just read that so that it clears any doubts whatsoever that the Bank of Ghana is under this law. So under Section 102, a covered entity means, covered entities mean the executive, legislature, and judiciary. Constitutional bodies. Doc, constitutional bodies. Then if you come to the E, autonomous agencies. F, statutory bodies. So whether you describe the Bank of Ghana as a constitutional body because it is established by Article 183 of the Constitution, or a statutory body because it is established by an Act of Parliament, or an autonomous body, it is a covered entity under this Act. And so what does Section 53 say about how public funds can be written off? It says that the minister shall seek the approval of Parliament. Here we are talking about the finance minister. The minister shall seek the approval of Parliament to abandon or remit a claim by or on behalf of government. B, abandon or remit a service to the government and write off a loss of or a deficiency in public funds or public resources. That money you gave the government are public resources. To write it off, you need the finance minister to go to Parliament for approval. Then look at 853.2. Where Parliament grants approval under subsection 1, the approval shall be by a resolution of a simple majority of Parliament. 3. The approval under subsection 1 shall specify the amount authorized for each abandonment or write-off, and the total sum authorized to be written off or abandoned. Then 4. The minister may, in accordance with the regulations, abandon or remit, or everything is there. So, on what basis did the Bank of Ghana, so motu, without parliamentary approval, decide to write off as much as 32 billion of government's debt to the bank, when those funds are public funds? You see, these guys see themselves as gods. They are lost unto themselves. And they are running our central bank like it is their personal property. And Doc, look at the flimsy response they provided. They are saying that, firstly, the Bank of Ghana's understanding is that the Minister for Finance in his 2023 budget statement, which was approved by Parliament, had a policy of debt restructuring as a key policy initiative. Whether he had debt restructuring as a key policy initiative is not the issue. Did he tell Parliament that you were printing money for him which had exceeded 5% of the previous fiscal year? And did he tell Parliament that he needed approval so that Bank of Ghana could write off debt that they owe to the bank amounting to 32 billion? This doesn't answer it.
In fact, this was post
the act. Yeah. Then he says, any further discussion on parliamentary approvals beyond what was approved in the 2023 budget will be handled by the Ministry of Finance. He wants to throw Ken Ofori-Atta, his once best friend, under the bus because now they are not on talking terms. But you see, Ken is only an accessory to the crime because you are the one who has written off the debt. Ken didn't write off the debt. He owes the debt. You understand? On behalf of the Akufo-Addo government, the one who has written it off on the books of the Bank of Ghana is the Bank of Ghana, not Ken Ofori-Atta. So Ken is the accessory, the accomplice. But you, the main liability falls on you because you have done the illegal writing off. Then they say, secondly, beyond the parliamentary approval, the IFRS accounting standard, which requires the full implementation of the expected credit loss, meant that the mere announcement by the government of a debt restructuring would trigger expected credit loss, which is the ECL, applications and impairment charge. They don't understand what. You see, they think they can confuse us with economic jargons. What this IFRS accounting standard says is that when you are giving money to somebody, credit to somebody, a loan, and the person announces debt restructuring, or it becomes clear that the person is not likely to pay, you impair it and you deduct it from your profit for that year. But impairment of debt is not the same as writing it off. Because a debt can be impaired, but the banks will still come after you to recover the money.
Yeah.
So yes, IFRS accounting standards impair it. But go after government for your money. You don't write it off.
The banks that have been declared insolvent, they are still
chasing the people for their money, even though those things have been impaired. And so to write it off, you don't resort to IFRS accounting standard. You refer to compliance with Section 53 of the Public Financial Management Act. Did you see a resolution from Ken Ofori-Atta, from Parliament, showing that majority of parliamentarians have agreed that that debt should be written off? Another crime. Then to conclude, Doc,
yes,
the other responses. I'll do it very quickly because it is nothing but chaff. I'll do that in 3 minutes. Nothing but chaff.
In 3 minutes.
First response, they say, oh, don't compare our performance in 2022 to the previous year. What does that mean? Number one, they are now admitting what we have always said, that government mismanaged the economy. They don't say that COVID, instructively, they don't say that COVID and Russia-Ukraine war was the reason. They say that the reason was what they called fiscal overruns. I say a combination of fiscal overruns and debt distress resulted in Ghana losing access to both international and domestic markets. What's fiscal overruns and debt distress? Because Bawumia and Ken Ofori-Atta excessively borrowed and spent recklessly. The Bank of Ghana is that is the main reason. So they have now admitted. Number two, what they are saying in effect is that the government was so reckless in how it spent and borrowed that they crashed the economy in 2022. And we, as a bank, given a discretion, because the law says the bank may, given a discretion whether to loan them money or not, and given a duty to advise them on fiscal policy, instead of advising them to change their bad lifestyle, which plunged us into that unsustainable debt position, we decided to fund their recklessness by printing more money for them. You see, Doc, every criminal has an excuse. Every thief, the fact that you stole money and you were arrested and you said, I was very hungry, that's why I stole money, is not reason enough for a court of competent jurisdiction to acquit you. So whether there was crisis or not, the law has given you a remit within which you are supposed to work. It has provided for emergency occasions and it's periods. And it says, when you have such crisis, go about it this way. Why? Because of the crisis was Parliament suspended. You go Parliament, Anna. Simply go to Parliament. You know why you couldn't go to Parliament? Because they were hiding the illegal printing of money from Parliament. When Adongo and Atofosi and yourself, you were sounding alarm bells that you are printing money, they were saying no. So how could they have gone? So this justification of, oh, there were crises in 2022 is not an excuse for the criminality you have engaged in. If you have to save an economy, you save it within the law, not against the law. And in doing so, you have not even saved the economy, you have worsened it. Because by printing money recklessly, we have recorded hyperinflation for the first time in 4 decades. Last year, 54.1% inflation, which according to the World Bank has pushed 850,000 people into poverty because of your recklessness and criminality.
In fact, the Bank of Ghana itself assigns a lot of its increased expenditure to inflation.
To inflation? Which inflation they caused. You understand? Then, Doc, let me put it on record.
Even their board fees.
Exactly. Let me put it on record.
Inflation and exchange rate.
Exactly. And Doc, let me put it on record that they can't blame DDEP. Because according to them, the statement you read, the first statement, they say domestic debt exchange program. It is noteworthy that 53.1 billion of those losses were a direct result of government's domestic debt restructuring exercise. The loss was 60.8 billion. So if 53.1 billion is as a result of Bawumia and Kenuforiata, right? What about the 7 billion?
They have indicated what it was.
That one too is attributed to Bawumia and Kenuforiata. Bawumia and Kenuforiata are the main causes. But without them, without their 53.1 billion, you would have still made losses of 7 billion. In any case, before DDEP, they were making losses. In 2017, this same Bank of Ghana made losses of 1.6 billion cedis. In 2018, they made losses of 800 million cedis. So you've already been making losses. And Doc.
But 2021, 2020, they made profits.
They made profits,
yes.
But they have made losses before. Okay. So let the impression not be created that we've made losses because of DDEP. Because DDEP is 53 billion out of 60 billion. What about the excess? And even before DDEP in 2017, 2018, when they claimed the economy was sound, you were making losses. Right. But finally, I will deal with the other responses later. But finally, on the head office. That's the most insulting one. So let me just deal with that one. Okay. Doc, President Mahama, when he was in office, you know when the Bank of Ghana makes profit, like I said, the money is for government because we are the shareholders. But President Mahama worked together with the Bank of Ghana under the leadership of Dr. Ishaku Naziru, Dr. Siama and co. Such that the Bank of Ghana under us made profits every year. 2012 profit of 1.5 billion, 2013 900 million cedis, 2014 900 million cedis, 2015 1 billion cedis, 2016 700 million cedis. We made profit every year. Yet, because we cared about the nation and we had love for this country, the governors there were not thinking about their personal comfort. They used their monies to build a hospital, the Bank of Ghana Hospital, which was a haven, a critical haven for us when COVID struck us. You are making losses, unprecedented losses, 60 billion. And your priority is that you will build a new head office complex made up of glasses. You will build it at a cost of $250 million. The contract is even in dollars against their own regulations. Equivalent to 3 billion cedis. An amount that can build 3,750 6-unit classroom blocks. If you divide the cost of one 6-unit classroom block, which is 800,000, by the amount they are using to build the head office, you can build 3,750 6-unit classroom blocks. And you are using it at a time you are making unprecedented losses. I asked one of the leaders of the Bank of Ghana when we were in office. I said, these guys are saying that building you are in now is old. Why didn't you build a new one? I said, it's all about priorities. Yes, the building is old, but at least we stayed in for 4 to 5 years and did our work. Nothing happened. When we realized that congestion could affect us, you know what they did? They started moving some of their departments outside the office. So you know they have an office as painters. Just by the palace roundabout, that office.
They've always had it.
They move one department there. City House, they have another office. They move other departments there to ease pressure at the head office. You came in, you are making losses.
But the building of the head office appears to be inevitable. The issue will be
but timing is key.
Yeah, timing is also
timing is key, and cost is key. $3 billion cities.
$250 million.
$250 million. What? And you award it in dollars, and you are paying money for the contractor, and the building is going on every day. And you say, oh, because of earthquake. When was the last time we had earthquakes in Ghana? 1939.
But don't wait for it.
Oh, Maza, the biggest threat to the Bank of Ghana is not earthquake.
It's what?
It is the recklessness and the criminality of the leaders of the Bank of Ghana. What has led to the 60 billion loss was not earthquake. It was not tremor. It was not gravity. It was financial recklessness, sheer criminality. And they will pay for that. When we come back, we'll talk about, after Richard, we'll talk about the other flimsy excuses they have given.
So we'll come back. $250 million, $250 million for head office. And I was checking some of the huge real estate developments in Accra and their cost and all that. Do you know the new EcoBank head office? The new one? Okay. It cost $60 million.
$60 million?
$60 million.
The one which is full of glasses?
Please, you can Google it now on your phone.
$60 million?
$60 million. Kempinski cost $50 million. We'll be back shortly.
Sometimes the unexpected happens and the hero falls down in his own story. But he needs not stay down for long. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance is your trusted health partner. Whether an individual building a business, with Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern. For the best health insurance solutions for corporate institutions, groups and associations, families and individuals, choose Cosmopolitan Health Insurance from our over 700 accredited health service providers nationwide. Call us on 0302 540 668 or 0501 678 547 for all your health insurance solutions. Cosmopolitan Health Insurance, your medical care is our concern.
Enjoy the fruits of your labor, they say. But as humans, aging and physical infirmity stands our way of enjoying our mansions and homes. It often becomes challenging, if not impossible, to use our stairways day in, day out. With portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators, PVs, you are assured of unlimited enjoyment of your mansions and homes. It's a self-supported elevator for vertical movement of humans and goods at homes and offices. The original comes in 3 custom-made models with wheelchair accessibility. Call it luxury, but it's a necessary imperative for vertical mobility. Do not let aging or infirmity limit you. Get one for your easy vertical mobility at home. It's affordable and can be installed in just 3 days without modification to your existing building. It's however easier to incorporate it at the construction stage. We also have traditional Fuji elevators and escalators for your high-rise buildings and malls. Visit Lifts and Elevators Company Limited at Sakumono for your elevators nationwide. For free consultation to call or WhatsApp us on 0200-535-515. Lifts and Elevators, the elevator people.
My name is John, and this is my long-time crush, my cookie dipped in strawberry yogurt. On this scorching hot afternoon on our way back from a long job hunt, we met this good Samaritan who offered us 6 weeks later.
A special wedding reception for our bride and groom.
And there she is, my cookie, dipped in someone else's yogurt.
Who holds the moolah, calls the shots, play game by games, the easiest lottery to play and win. Big phone numbers from 0 to 9 up to 3 times daily to become one of our daily lucky winners. Dial *946# to play now, or you can also play online at www.gamepackgames.com. Game Park is regulated by the National Lottery Authority.
Today is your gateway to a theme park full of gaming excitement. A whirlpool of wonder where your favorite games come to life. Where you can take to the skies with max payouts that reach into the millions. All in the palm of your hand. Visit betway.com.gh. Terms and conditions apply. Betway is regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. No under 18. Bet responsibly. Betway. Bet your way.
My son, there's more blessing in giving than receiving. When you fear for you now, and couple the makers in
The pneumatological abrasion of the Lord revealed unto me this night that me and my household should go out into the world and bless the world.
Makers Electronics Company Limited. Up to 67% discount. Our selected appliances.
This is what I call quintessential immaculatability.
The Makers Electronics Company Limited. Taifa Burkina Highway. Amasama Zongo Junction. K Pharmacy Dining. Oyer Fateman Boga Junction. Ashaman Valco Flat. Kumasi. Ahinema Kokobin. Asafu Bwachi Hospital Junction. Saturday. Number 9 Market.
Tell mom and dad about the Makers Blessing Attack program.
From 0552 222 253 and 0552 222 254. Terms and conditions apply. The same got to move.
Right, welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, this is Good Morning Ghana live on Metro TV. Still with me on the show, I have Richard Ahiagba and Sami Jemfi. As the Makers Electronics Blessing Attack promo, rush to Makers Electronics Company Limited for up to 67% discount on selected appliances such as Samsung, LG Move, Nasco, TCL Media, and Toshiba. Quality but affordable with 2 years manufacturer defect warranty. Visit the showrooms at the Taifa Burkina Highway, Amasaman Zongo Junction, Oyaifa Teman Boga Junction, Kaswa New Market, Ashaman Valco Flat, Kumasi Ahinema Kokobin, Takrade Fie Kuma number 9 Market. You can reach the Makers Electronics Company Limited on 055 2222253 or 055 2222254. The Makers Electronics Company Limited, large and in charge with quality but affordable home appliances and consumer electronics. Terms and conditions apply. An original 91.9 FM, original TV and Metro TV brings you the most exciting street soccer competition ever in Accra. Yes, this Friday and every other Friday, the street soccer train will come to a location near you. Activities include ball juggling, popularly known as totals, penalty shootout, arm wrestling, Q&A, and many others. You have the stamina and confidence, then meet the train at a lorry station on open street near you to show your skills and win unlimited prizes. Original Street Soccer Competition is proudly sponsored by Casapreco Storm Energy Drink and supported by Porkmasters. This Friday, that's tomorrow, the Original Street Soccer Competition will be coming to you live from La Main Taxi Station near the La Community Bank in the La Dade Kotopon constituency. Original Street Soccer Competition, play and win big. And then Richard, let me hear you on the BOG.
Well, thank you very much. I've heard Sami talk a lot for almost about an hour. It felt like forever, going around in circles. You know, the issue with the Bank of Ghana and the discussions that was attended in two parts. First is the substance, and second is the form. And Sami engaged the form. He completely ignored to talk about the substance of the matter, which existed long before they called their press conference. The Bank of Ghana issued an FAQ a while, I think about last week or so,
And the very concerns the NDC raised, they attempted to provide the answers proactively. But the NDC seeking to sensationalize the matter, essentially focusing on the form or measuring in the minors, called a press conference dramatized by their minority leader, Honorable Ato Forson, who once upon a time was a deputy finance minister who saw or supervised a complete decline of this economy. And it shocked me that he stood before Ghanaians to pretend as though he's not the same person. We know what he can do. We saw what he did, and we're not impressed by it. A verdict of the Ghanaians demonstrated that clearly that Mr. Ato Forson, or sorry, Dr. Ato Forson, has no capacity to even begin to talk about economic management and issues related to that. So on that account, I would just appeal to Ghanaians to disregard everything Sami just said, because it was just a form. It was making arguments and accusations for the sake of it. Because when you get to the substance of the matter, all of the things Sami said are immaterial to the essential role of the Bank of Ghana and what the Bank of Ghana must do to ensure that our economy is on a certain footing for Ghanaians to benefit, for Ghanaians to go about their everyday life in a way that it intends or it must do and establish to do. I want to read something to you, and this is an IMF document. I'll share with you the link, or I'll share the document with you. I read only the abstract, and it relates to central banks, and I just want to read the abstract. It says, a central bank should normally make a profit because it's essentially a monopolistic enterprise supplying an essential commodity, that is currency, the demand of which is inelastic, at least up to a minimum amount. Such privileged enterprises should not, under normal circumstances, make losses. Indeed, the notion of a loss seems so alien to the nature of central banking that its emergence on the books of a central bank may give the impression of a serious breakdown in financial discipline and raise doubts about the soundness of the entire financial system and even the economy as a whole. This is where I want you to focus or pay attention to. Such an impression may not be fully justified. It is not necessarily a lack of financial discipline by the central bank, but the central bank that leads to losses. They often represent a hidden form of fiscal deficit, and depending on how they are treated, they do not necessarily spell disaster. This is the substance of the matter. Now, Sami has spent 45 minutes or an hour just repeating to us accusations that anybody can make. And if I decide to do same, I'll talk from when Sami started till this show is over and take Mineral Commission's time, and I won't finish about the supervision of the Bank of Ghana under the NDC. But that will be also engaging the form of the issue. If you read the first statement or the second statement that was released, which is a statement on Bank of Ghana's 2022 financial statement, the very first paragraph talks about the debt. And they were careful to say that it is noteworthy that 53.1 billion of the loss were a direct result of government's domestic debt restructuring exercise, phase 1 and 2. So we know where the debt comes from. That the World Bank had to write off. So really now, what is Sami's argument? If you go back to the budget, the 2023 budget, it was clear. I was just trying to get you the paragraph number, but you referred to it, so I'm sure the context is established. where the finance minister indicated to Parliament the need for a domestic debt exchange, suggesting that that exercise will take place. And Parliament reviewed that budget, approved that budget, and approved an appropriation for that budget to be implemented. That budget was implemented, and part of it, December 5th, 2022, the Finance Ministry announced a debt exchange program carried through all the way till May sometime this year, also May this year, and completed that process. In fact, recently, the pension funds were also included in the DDEP, where they have agreed to a new alternative program different from the first one. So the Bank of Ghana indicates that as part of the DDEP, where private and private bondholders and general lenders to the government took an interest haircut, if you like, when they were called upon to exchange their old bonds with a new one with lower interest rate and longer maturity terms. The Bank of Ghana engaged in that space also got a haircut. And their haircut was not on principal, not on interest, but it was on principal, a 50% haircut. That amounted to about 32 billion or so. And in addition, about 16.1 billion also. So a total of 48.4 billion is what the Bank of Ghana had to lose in this exercise. And you read the statement, it talks about other losses that emanate from exchange rates and inflation casualties. And so a total of 60.1 billion was the debt. Now, unless you refuse to accept the context in which we're operating, then you would be making this form argument that Sami was making. 2020, we saw what happened to our economy. In 2022, we saw what happened to exacerbate the global economy with the war in Russia and Ukraine. Now, sometimes it becomes a broken record when you're repeating this, and the point of it is that as part of our communication, we don't make assumption and build on things. So therefore, Celia, if there was an honest conversation in this country, if anybody saw that the Bank of Ghana wrote off an amount, okay, being attributed to the debt exchange program, then that person should begin to build a conversation on the assumption that, yes, in this country, there was a financial crisis, that financial crisis. In trying to deal with it, government went to the IMF, and in trying, as part of the IMF conditionalities, to try to attain debt sustainability, the government had to take a certain measure to then bring our debt to sustainable level, which measure led to the government proposing a debt exchange to be able to cut its debt to GDP ratio from 105 to somewhere about 55 or so by a certain period of time. And so when that context is known to Sami and is making this argument, I don't get it. So that ordinarily, the Bank of Ghana wouldn't have posted this loss, but for the situation that has happened. And Sami, as a lawyer, they call it force majeure. It's an extenuating circumstance that lead to this kinds of operation. Otherwise, you don't need it. So if you pretend that this thing hasn't happened, then you will talk the way Sami is talking. And I think that it's cheap of the NDC to be carrying on like this. Because really, as you said, you saw my document, I've just been going around. I can just go through and tell you about the missteps, most of it unforced, in the era of the NDC, where there is no catastrophic event to force that happens. And so for me, the substance of the conversation is that we are in a difficult situation, and I read to you that abstract to illustrate a point, and the Bank of Ghana made that point, that making a loss necessarily does not jeopardize or cause or suggest that the Bank of Ghana is insolvent. And this document explains that position or validates that position. The fact that they've made losses does not mean that they can't carry on their monetary policy position, ensuring that our economy continues to work as it ought to work.
I suggest in Richard that a breach of the law is not a substantial matter.
Now, I've made two distinctions for you. The form and the substance. Now,
that's what informs my question.
Yes, so part of the form, okay, and why it is form, is that Sammy is a lawyer. And he said at one point that it's a criminal act. If it's a criminal act, what do? Do you sit on the TV and talk about
who do?
He who is establishing the criminality.
What can he do?
Why? See,
in a criminal matter, what can he do?
But he has established a wrongdoing.
Yeah, what can he do? That's what I want to understand.
Well, he's the lawyer, he should tell us. If you see crime, what do you do about it?
What can he do?
Well, but you see, if he has established that a crime has occurred.
My question is not even the issue of criminality. Yeah. I'm asking you, because of your thing about form and substance, because the gravamen of his submission is about the existence of laws.
Right.
Which have been breached.
Right.
And the fact that the two statements by the central bank does not address those issues. But seek to explain why what was done, or why what is. But the point that he's made, and he says that that's the substance of the minorities issue, is that there are laws. The laws themselves envisage situations like this. The laws have stipulated what to do in situations like this. That has not been done. That is the gravamen. The central bank, in its statement, explains why it did what it did in terms of the money, what has occasioned the loss, but does not deal with the issues of complying with the law.
Yeah. So I'll come to
that. So
I'm
asking you whether you consider, on the basis of your form against substance argument, whether you consider the issue of the existence of a law and the breach of same as an issue which is not substantial.
Well, see, I think I'll come to that. But the point I was making to you is that the NDC is a capable political organization in this country, right? And so when they establish there's a breach of the law, they have parliament, they have measures to deal with it. Right? Not to make a press conference and demand the resignation of the governor. Now, in asking the governor to resign, how does that repair the breach they are claiming? Right? How does that repair?
Well,
so that is why
successfully filed a question, and before Parliament rose,
yes,
I think it's been admitted by the Speaker.
No problem. So let's engage that process. Okay? So this whole press conference is needless, and that's why I called it a form issue, because there's a recognized forum to address that matter. And so if they've already filed a question in Parliament to interrogate the matter, why the Bank of Ghana ignored or did not adhere to the law the way they are reading into it, then why are they boring everybody with a press conference that addresses questions that have been already answered? Really? So that's why it's even irritating to have the NDC engage in this as if they have discovered gold. There's nothing here in this matter. If really they are engaging the substance, yes, the 53.1 billion is big. Is a big amount of money. And if you are looking at it to say that in normal times, if the Bank of Ghana posts this kind of laws, I will join him in questioning why and what happened. But we know what is happening. We know the context in which, as a country, as a global economy, we are operating in. So when you come here and you are if something is amiss, you are not credible. You are not credible. It's either you are trying to fool all of us, or think that all of us don't know what is happening. So you can appeal to people's emotion for your political end, which does not benefit Ghana. Waste all of us our time as if something is happening. If anybody was looking at TV right now, this morning, when Sammy was speaking, the person will be paying attention, thinking something really is amiss. But what is happening is that we're trying to get ourselves out of a dangerous place, which is the economy having been stacked after COVID and worsened by Russia-Ukraine war. We have to dig ourselves out. So what conversation the NDC should be having, calling press conferences, is about how they think that government should navigate out of this crisis.
Does it not include getting rid of people who will be reckless and irresponsible in not adhering to the laws that we have enacted in order to ensure that things are done in a proper manner?
Certainly, but then they have the proper forum to do it, and that forum they have activated, so they should have waited. And then, so if they found a need urgently to call a press conference, then that press conference should be about how they think that government alternatively should be doing policy to spend this or to recover the economy to where it was, not to come and repeat what they have a proper forum to do. Look, Sabi was talking about the building and 250 million and dramatizing it. I don't know if Sami remember the Sifting Switch contract for the mobile money interoperability. A 2.6 billion cost to do mobile money interoperability. Something that was done, I think, about for 4 million. The price tag was 2.6 billion. You tell me, and that was also in dollars too. That was in dollars. I mean, was in dollars. You know?
Are you suggesting that the central bank was going to pay 2.6 billion?
That was the contract given, and there was an arbitration, and the contract was terminated. I said I can show you the document. And now the next, hold on, the next closest bid to that 2.6 billion tag for mobile money interoperability was 33 times less that amount. So let's talk about a problem of contracts, situations with government agencies and all that. Let's talk about that. But let's not act as though
that this is that there's nothing wrong with the $250 million being spent on a head office building at a time that the Bank of Ghana in its own statement admits that it is the worst period in its life as a bank. Are you saying that because of the issues you raised about Sifting, there's nothing wrong with the decision to spend $250 million on a head office building?
I'm not saying that. Okay. But I'm saying that if Sami is the one saying this thing, he should exercise some moderation.
But address the Ghanaian people too.
Yeah,
it's not only Sami who spoke about the Bank of Ghana.
No, I know. But Sami is talking to Ghanaians.
Otherwise, for many of the people who have also expressed their views upon seeing this annual report,
but we are putting the report in.
You are addressing them as well.
No, I'm addressing Ghanaians to try to let them see the over-exaggeration of the matter. That Sami and his government gave a contract for mobile money interoperability. That does not include any cement buying, does not include anything, for 2.6 billion. And they thought that was okay and they walked away from it. They wanted that to be enforced. They wanted that contract to be adhered to, right? Then he's talking about a building of 250 million and suggesting that that is unheard of. No, hold on one second.
You're not answering me.
I don't have to answer that question.
Why?
It's implied.
Why don't you have to answer?
If you look at the analogy I'm doing, your question is
We're speaking about the Bank
No,
of Ghana's,
I beg
just
you.
hold on. We're speaking about the Bank of Ghana's annual report. I've read the Bank of Ghana's annual report from 2000 to today. What you're speaking about is not reflected in any of the annual reports.
Which one?
The 2-point-something billion.
I'll give you a report of it so you can read.
I said in the annual report.
No, I'm saying that because I'm talking about the contract that was given, duly given, went through procurement and was given,
paid for by the central bank.
So in essence, if the NDC had won in 2016, this 2.6 billion would have been on the Bank of Ghana's books. It would have.
You read that contract well?
But I have the arbitration document. I'll share with you.
No, it's not the arbitration document.
No, but I'm saying that
the document too.
Yes.
I know why I'm asking.
I beg you. The substance of my presentation has nothing to do with that. But I was just trying to illustrate.
It has.
No. I beg you. I wanted to demonstrate for our viewers the credibility of the person who is citing a $250 million building as something exceedingly unheard of, when he and his government were giving mobile money interoperability contract for $2.6 billion. Okay, it's the credibility of the messenger is what I'm trying to establish for Ghanaians. So for me, the conversation, if it's about trying to address or to say that, well, government contracting will have to be looked at and this and all of that, that can be done. Now, the conversation about the building, for me, I don't really want to engage that, because why? They are the institution. If they find a need for whatever they want to build the building, it is for their own forward planning.
It's an institution owned by Ghana.
I know, but they are independent and they make independent decisions about what they do.
No.
See there, no. I beg you.
No. The government of Ghana is the 100% sole shareholder of the Bank of Ghana.
Okay, so hold on.
The directors of the Bank of Ghana are there representing the government.
I understand. You know what I'm talking about. So I'm not trying to get into the conversation.
A loss of the Bank of Ghana is Ghana's loss.
But the building is not a loss. Is it a loss?
No, you don't get me. You don't get me.
It's not a loss.
No.
No, see, I beg you. No. I beg you, please.
I'm saying that if you proceed on the tangent, you see, we have proceeded on these tangents. IMF came into this country, and they asked us that we should now put Cocoa Board's debt. We should put it on our books. All those, all those other institutions, we should put them on our books. We have proceeded in this country. Oh, they are autonomous. It's on their own balance sheet. It's on their own balance sheet. Forgetting that the fundamental issue is that although they are operating on their own balance sheets, these are entities that are fully owned by the Republic of Ghana. A loss for those entities is a loss for Ghana.
Okay.
So when we pretend as if
it's not a pretense.
No, I'm saying,
hold on. It's not a pretense.
Today, as we speak, Cocoa Board's debts, on whose books are they?
Nobody is arguing that. I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, so I'm saying that is the reason why we shouldn't go into this tangent.
No, but we should, because
central bank is independent. So it means that any decision they take, it's a decision that is entirely up to them, and nobody can.
I didn't say that. But what I'm telling you is that they are autonomous to the extent that you don't have to interfere in their day-to-day running. So if before this thing came out, they had the complete autonomy to be able to sit, have their board decide and agree that they're going to do that. It is well within their right. They have not breached any law. We can complain about how much it is, but it doesn't mean that they have done anything against the law. Because they have the capacity to do that. That's the point I'm making. I'm not saying that they should just spend as and when they want. No. So the point I'm making is that let's not create the impression as if as an institution they lack the capacity or they don't have the right to decide and plan forward. You can argue about the building and say that, oh, maybe we don't need it at this time. And the question again is that if you are mindful of the context in which we're in, why don't we need it at this time? Because of the crisis that we're in, but you don't acknowledge that crisis. About 53.1 billion has gone into resolving a crisis position. So if you want to say that, okay, because of that, they shouldn't have spent on that, yes, of course, I can hear that moral argument that you're making, but it doesn't take away from them as an institution independent enough to make certain decisions, to make it. You get the point I'm making. So that's really where I think we should focus. So in all this argument, if one is being loyal to the facts, the NDC is complaining basically because it has decided, one, to ignore the economic context in which we are, and two, to accept that as a country, we're going through a phase, and that phase has necessitated a certain decisions to be made, and there is a collaboration, a self-collaboration between the fiscal authorities and monetary authorities to be able to solve that problem for us. And the outcome of that is this debt. And that is an unimpeachable fact that the NDC should acknowledge, and for which reason this press conference was totally needless. And what they have done is to try to raise the public temperature, creating an impression as though that the Bank of Ghana is doing anything wrong, when in actual fact what it's trying to do is to help our economy out of the doldrums. And I think that the NDC must be very mindful of that and probably save us all of these back and forth that they continuously do. The issue about the law, whether or not the Bank of Ghana breached the law or not, I find reason in their statement to understand the assumption or the path they proceeded on, and I think the debate in Parliament will bring some clarity on the matter as to what actually is happening in the position of the law. And again, if somebody is not happy about it, I think that the person can seek redress in the courts, especially if Sammy and the NDC are not happy. I think that's an avenue also open, so that all of us will understand what the requirements are and if indeed the Bank of Ghana has breached the law. But the Bank of Ghana proceeded on a path suggesting that, okay, much of what we have done, suggesting that it was okay and perhaps didn't go to Parliament for express consent or through the Finance Minister for express consent, is that there's a budget brought to Parliament, which budget the Parliament of Ghana approved. And so on the basis of that approval, they proceeded that once the DDEP was captured in the budget to be an operation, to be undertaken.
That's not what the law says.
No, I'm just saying that. But you see, if we take everything out and just say, okay, well, in understanding the context, okay, the assumption they are making, it follows from that to say that, okay, we assume that this activity has been approved by Parliament to take place. And so if that approval has been given,
in what was sent to Parliament, did the Finance Minister indicate that we are asking Bank of Ghana to write off X amount of money? Or did he indicate that we are asking the central bank to exceed this limit from A to B in compliance with this and that? Was that in the statement?
That could be implied. That could be implied. And in fact, and that's what you're asking.
The law is clear on what to do. Why are we skirting around and dancing around the issue?
Basilia, the law is always clear.
You were just speaking about form and substance.
No, but I'm just telling you. Yes. I'm just telling you because now I finished the substance.
So you are not engaged with the form.
No, I'm trying to help him to move away from the form. That the form he's engaged in for 48 minutes is actually much ado about nothing. The law is always clear.
Yes.
But then you go to the court for interpretation.
This one doesn't require interpretation.
So it means that on some laws we can say that we don't need the court.
This doesn't
we
need
the court. So that's why it's there. It may not be convenient.
When you read the statements, the two statements from the central bank,
but
it's pretty obvious that the central bank itself does not even attempt any spirited defense in terms of the breach of the law.
It doesn't. Because they've implied in here.
They have no legs to stand on.
Okay.
So
we'll find out.
They don't even. The Bank of Ghana has a lot of lawyers, very learned.
Yeah,
went to the best schools and all that. They know that they don't have
your comments are very prejudicial.
Why?
Okay, so just hold on.
Why? You doubt that they've gone to some of the best schools?
But I'm just saying that you are creating a certain impression. Look, that they have done the impression that they have done something wrong. No. The point I am making to you is that
I'm not creating an impression that they've done wrong. I believe they've done wrong.
Okay, that's your belief, but that's not the law. Your belief is not the law. I beg you. Because the law can be clear, but we'll go for interpretation. And the only people who can tell us what the law means are there. And when they want to push...
Let's continue aiding people.
No, we're not.
To continue behaving like this.
No, Celia, to be honest.
Yes, let's continue doing that.
No. Nobody's doing that.
No, I'm just telling you.
No.
Until we get to a point where we can look ourselves in the faces.
Yeah.
And tell ourselves that, look, this is wrong.
Yeah.
You can't do this. Even if you meant well, you ought to have gone by the rules.
Yeah. But see, unfortunately,
until we begin to do that, when we engage in stuff like this, well,
but see, this is not stuff.
Let's continue.
No. But you see, no, see, don't be like that. So the point is that.
No, I'm being very honest with you. Let's continue.
But yeah, we can be honest, but there's the law. The society is created. We have created for ourselves a government that has 3 arms to do specific things. So particularly because of these disputes, we have the courts. So yes, we can be honest, but then the court is the final authority to tell us which is the honest position. So I'm saying that their statement suggests that they proceeded on a certain assumption, which assumption I see reasonableness in it. To say that Finance Minister indicated to Parliament. Parliament approved that we're going to do
Is
DDEP.
the law not clear
and
on
so,
what to do?
So
is that what they are saying was done?
So if you are a judge right now and I come with this case, what I'm going to tell you is that I proceeded with that assumption. You, the judge, will have to tell me that that assumption is too far-fetched, and that's it. So let me just proceed.
Do ABCD. Was ABCD done? What is the issue about implied?
So I'm just telling you that I see reasonableness in the position they have taken. If you disagree, somebody can take it to court. That's
I won't go to court.
And the Parliament will debate this when they come back to see what the positions are. But I don't think that we on our own should be advancing any judgment, because that's not our place. That's not.
Why?
You're
saying that I don't reserve the right to say that on the face of the law that I read, what they have done is a breach. I can't say that.
No, you can't say that.
And that I can only say that when I've gone to court and a judge says that that is the position.
But that's the law we've written for ourselves. That you don't have final authority on what is right or wrong.
I have not said final authority.
But when you are passing judgment the way we are doing here, it is definitive. People are listening to us and they will take that as a fact.
You see,
and I'm saying
the
it's
people
not.
who are listening
so
to
all
us,
I am doing
the
is to
people
say
who are
that
listening to us and watching us are more intelligent
of
than
course,
us.
Of course.
Yes.
Of course.
They can read the law. They can tell when what is happening is in fact a breach of the law or it is not a breach of the law.
Yes.
They don't need a judge to tell them that. To tell them that when the law says that when a limit is reached, inform the finance minister. The finance minister must inform Parliament and tell Parliament about the remedial measures taken. If that has not been done, and you are being told that that was contained in some DDEP which was in a budget, and therefore it can be construed to have been an adherence to the law.
No, not adherence, an endorsement of the action they have taken. Endorsement of the action they have taken, that yes, because this action has been approved by Parliament, and it's in fact, what is it? It's not supposed to go back to Parliament, right? They're supposed to get to Parliament, and the same Parliament has approved an action or an operation in the budget, which operation they are tied to. And so therefore, they went on the assumption that this has been approved, and therefore there's consent.
The finance minister never took anything to Parliament which said that I am asking the Bank of Ghana to write off 50% of the DDEP.
No problem.
He never took anything to Parliament which says that the Bank of Ghana governor has informed me that we have reached the 5% limit. So these are the remedial measures that I am taking. He's never sent any of these two to Parliament in any document.
Yeah, so I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that.
But is that not what the law says should be done?
No, I'm just saying I'm not arguing all of that. That's what you want to argue.
No, I'm saying, is that not what the law says? Am I saying something out of vacuum, or is that what the law says?
Just hold on. But you hear what I am also saying. You are saying, so yours is yours, mine is mine. And I'm just saying that.
No. I'm saying that I am referring to an existing law.
Yes, and I'm also referring
that is the law.
And I'm referring you to a budget which Parliament passed that approved a certain action to be taken. That action has impact or has relationship to what the Bank of Ghana has done. And I'm
which
saying
law is that situated?
Hold on.
Where can we find what you are saying?
See, I'm quoting an authority's action to you, which authority is Parliament. And I'm saying that from where I see it, I see the reasonableness of the position they have advanced. And if there are additional steps that must be taken, that would be a subject of interrogation that we must allow. But let's not get to the point where what we think is the fact becomes the fact, because we don't have that capacity to determine the fact for the country. We have a body properly recognized to determine that. So my beginning case was that Sami is a lawyer. He, in his submission, said that they have breached the law, there's a criminal exercise and all of that. So if that is the case, he and his party should petition. Or to go ahead and take the governor to court if that's what they think is right. But to call a press conference only to say that he should resign 21 days or will occupy, I don't see the value of that. And I think that they have wasted everybody's time. The substance of the matter, Sammy, just wait. I was here for 40 minutes and you were talking. You know? You're speaking more than that. Please, just take your time. Take your time. You understand? So to call a press conference when there are essential matters to be debated, I am interested in hearing what their position is on how we dig ourselves out of the economy. Because really, in the media reports that came, they were up in arms about, oh, we are not moving forward, the economy is this, the economy is that. What is their alternative? So this whole enterprise they set up at their headquarters or wherever they are grouping, to just say that they are going to obstruct everything and bastardize everything government does, is not the way to behave as a political party, a responsible opposition party. So this press conference was completely needless. The subject of this discussion is known to Ghanaians, that we are in a difficult place. Government has acknowledged the difficulties that we're going through and is working in spirited manner to try and bring us out of it. Now, when you are going to comment on that matter, you must properly recognize the context in which you are having that conversation. If Bank of Ghana has veered off of what situation we're in and then make certain decisions that rather hampers our efforts to build out of the difficulties we're in, then I'll be justified, or they will be justified, in calling a press conference to raise attention to that. But what Bank of Ghana is doing is to complement the fiscal position of government to try to bring this economy back.
Okay. Just a little clarification. The interoperability, did you say $2.6 billion or cedis?
It's $2.6 billion.
The cities.
Okay.
The cities.
No. Okay. Well, I'll share the document.
First of all, I always make the point.
So we're wrapping up in 6 minutes. I have to deal with that.
Doc, give me about 5 minutes.
You can give him the rest of the day. He's just going to go around in circles. That's all.
Yes. First of all, the point Richard makes about
cities. Okay.
If the NDC thinks that somebody has breached the law, we should go to court. It's a very uninformed, a very illiterate statement.
Why?
Because no citizen of Ghana can take a crime to court. That is elementary. The power to prosecute a crime is a sole prerogative of the Attorney General and Ministry of Justice. Part of that power is what has been delegated to the police, special prosecutor, and so on and so forth. By Article 88 of the 1992 Constitution, no citizen can take somebody to court for a crime. So when you come and sit on TV and you say, hey, if you think somebody has committed a crime, go to court, you simply don't understand what you're saying.
I know you
Number two, please, when you were speaking, I did not giggle, I did not laugh, I did not heckle.
I didn't stop you from giggling.
I think you give me that same respect and allow me to make my point.
Don't waste the time.
No, but no. Call him to order. This is a serious platform.
Come on.
And we are discussing serious issues. So stop this. You did it last week. Stop that. It doesn't befit your status. Number two, we are talking about the illegal and criminal printing of money for the government against the laws of this country. We are talking about the writing off of public funds against the laws of this country. We are talking about our central bank making losses to the tune of 60 billion cedis, equivalent to $6 billion, that we as Ghanaians will have to fix. And Richie says these are minors. This is form. What then is the substance? Is it that our friends in the MPP use words they don't understand? What is your understanding of form and substance? What is the substance? We are talking about legal infractions. Why then are you prosecuting people in court? By prosecuting people in court for breaching laws, you are engaging in minors. You are engaging in form. What laws did the governor, his deputies, and the board of directors swear to uphold? Is it not the Bank of Ghana Act? That they are breaching, violating with impunity? Their actions by illegally printing money for the government, part of which they have illegally written off, is what, according to the IMF and the World Bank and according to the Bank of Ghana itself, has led to hyperinflation in this country. Last year we had inflation of 54.1%. You said that is minor? 850,000 Ghanaians have been pushed into poverty because of your recklessness. You said that is minor? Then he says that Ato Forson doesn't have the capacity to talk about financial issues. Really? You have the capacity to talk about financial issues. But Dr. Ato Forson doesn't have the capacity because he has a bad record. Really? Under him, that is under John Mahama, when we were leaving office, inflation rate was 15.4%. And you said we're incompetent. You say we don't have the capacity to manage an economy. Inflation rate under you has gone up to 54.1% and is currently 43.1%. You have the capacity. It's like when they talk, their ears are close to their mouth, but they don't listen to what they are saying. What do you people take Ghanaians for? And that Ato Forson debt to GDP was 56%. Under you, according to the Bank of Ghana, it rose to 105%. You have the capacity to talk about financial matters. Dr. Ato Forson doesn't have. Huh? Under that Dr. Ato Forson as Deputy Finance Minister, we were servicing our debt. We never defaulted. Our grade as an economy, or our credit rating was B-. He doesn't have the capacity to talk about the economy. But you, who have so mismanaged this economy, said that the economy has been downgraded to D, super junk status, super baller status, and we have defaulted on our debt obligations. You have the capacity. Master, show us some respect. Okay. Doc, again.
Yes, just wrap up for me.
The equalization he engaged in was a complete lie. He said that we gave a contract to September for 2.6 billion cedis, and that is what Bank of Ghana was going to pay. For your education, this is free education. Bank of Ghana was not going to pay a cedi under the contract. The money you mentioned, that 1 billion cedis, was what the investor was going to invest. And then the investor was going to charge fees from the public who were going to use the platform, like you're doing now. And by the way, the fees the investor was going to charge from the public, not from the Bank of Ghana, were going to be lower than what you are charging us now. So when he lies, then he would come in and tell you, when you ask him for evidence, and look, you need to put a stop to that practice of Richard. Anytime he peddles falsehood on this platform, and you ask him for evidence, he tells you, I have the document, I will share it with you. He came and sat here and lied that John Mohammed's accommodation, office accommodation, was being paid for by this government. You asked him for evidence, he said he has the documents, he will share it with you. We want to know, Doc, we are all stakeholders. Has he shared the documents with you?
There's no document.
Every day we will share documents with you. Lie after lie. Lie after lie.
It's so predictable.
Yet we never see the documents. Doc, this matter is a simple matter. He says, oh, we are in this mess because we are not in normal times. We should discuss this issue within a certain context. Which of our neighbors, be it Burkina Faso, Togo, Nigeria, which of them have their central banks declared losses of $6 billion? Show me one. Show me one.
All right.
And then, Doc, finally.
Yes.
Oh, it is because of DDP. I've shown you that the debts, the losses is 60 billion. DDP, according to the Bank of Ghana's own statement, is 53 billion. What about the 7 billion? In any case, the DDP, how did they come about? Your Alhaji Bawumia, chairman of the economic management team, who has now abandoned his role, and Ken Ofori-Atta, your entire government went on a reckless borrowing spree, which they spent recklessly. You've increased our public debt from 120 billion to over 600 billion. You, the people who said the Tisicasos will come one day, come there. We don't have to borrow. The money is here. Right. Okay. And you plunge us into an unsustainable debt position, and you have the temerity to come and sit on TV that, oh, this problem has come about because of a problem you created.
Richard, give us the benefit.
Show us some respect.
You know, I've started sharing the document with Sami.
Okay, all right.
He wants it, so I
Which one?
What document?
He said, I have the habit of...
You said Septon deal.
Yes, I've
was
said
1 billion.
No, I said
and that Bank of Ghana was 2.6 billion,
yeah.
and you've been corrected. That was even a lie.
Which one?
The 2.6 was a lie.
Why?
And then you said that
I've sent you
that money was going
document.
to be paid by the bank. Show me which page, which paragraph says that.
I've sent
Bank
it
of Ghana was.
I've sent
so
it
show me.
Okay.
Show me.
Wait.
Show me what sentence says Bank of Ghana had an obligation under that contract. Which never even came into effect. Under that contract to pay 1 billion cedis to a company called Septon. Show me.
Okay, so yeah.
And I will apologize to you right now.
You don't need to apologize. You tell us.
Show me. I will walk home if you show me that.
Yeah.
Show me.
Bank of Ghana wins arbitration against Septon Switch Limited.
Is that a contract? Is that a contract document? Yes. You said you have sent
I've
sent a contract document.
Their contract was terminated.
Yes.
And they went for arbitration.
So is this a contract document?
Yes.
So there's a release from the Bank of Ghana. Yes. A press release from this discredited Bank of Ghana full of characters who engage in criminality. Where is the contract? You said you are sharing with me a contract. You just shared with me a Bank of Ghana press release. Signed by the Addison, his people, those wicked characters who are illegally printing money for the government.
I think
you see the way you can lie. You have no credibility. You sat on TV and you have said that we gave a contract. No, we all have a source spot for you. But the lying is becoming too much. Stop protecting him. If I were the one you asked me for evidence, where is the evidence that we signed a contract in which Bank of Ghana was going to pay 1 billion.
Sammy, you made a point.
I didn't say 1 billion.
You have your way with your management office accommodation. You won't have your way this time around. Show us that contract. You said you will send us the document. Where is it?
Yes,
I need to
you lie seamlessly. And when they are lying, they will be laughing and speaking good grammar. So if you don't take your time, you will not even detect that they are lying. That's how they are.
Sammy, you are pathetic. So the truth of the matter is that the Bank of Ghana went to arbitration for that obnoxious 2.6 billion.
Yes.
Okay? That was going to be paid to Sipton Switch to
paid by who?
Huh? It's not. It's
some money operability.
Wait. Why would the Bank of Ghana go for arbitration? If that is
they didn't go.
Look,
it's the company that went to arbitration.
That's close. Yes. So the truth of the matter. Please. The point of the matter is that the substance of it is not whether who is going to pay it or not. But the substance of the matter is that...
you used that in relation to the 250 million.
Right.
That the Bank of Ghana is spending $250 million.
Yes.
So hold on. And you have made the point that during their time, the Bank of Ghana was going to spend $2.6 billion.
How can you even compare mobile interoperability to the cost of a building? Who does this comparison?
You see,
who does this?
The thrust of the comparison is not whether or not it is a building or it's a mobile interoperability. It's about the idea of a ceding amount of contract prices that are given. So that the 2.6 billion to do mobile money interoperability, which ended up being done for less, exceedingly less, about for 4 million. That is what I wanted to illustrate for him.
Bank of Ghana was not going to pay any 2.6 billion or 1 billion.
Hold on.
You've corrected him. He is still pending.
But what makes you think that if this thing was done,
who is going to bear the cost?
If it was that,
it's the users.
So if it's the users, so it's okay. Hold on. So it's okay. Hold on. So it's okay to perpetrate that crime on Ghanaians, to give an unreasonable contract.
Who have you been able to prosecute in line with that so-called crime?
But the arbitration victory demonstrates
so why haven't you been able to prosecute any of the governors of the Bank of Ghana who signed it? Why?
Please.
If there was crime in it.
You're being obnoxious. Just relax.
All right.
Stop lying.
Let me just respond.
You know, Doc, the most
this thing is not going to wash.
The monies they are printing to, they don't give him some. Yet he will come and sit on TV. You are not communicators. They don't give you some.
How do you know?
Also, the communication expenditure of 32 million, 320 billion.
No, let me go.
They don't give him some. He's my brother, I know. You will come and sit
here. Sammy need to calm down.
But Doc,
this thing is not a competition.
There is nothing like a competition. My pain is you making attacks.
Sammy, you made that point several.
When I was talking, he was obstructing.
No, I wasn't.
You made that.
MPP, we don't do that. NDC does that. That's
by the way, he's had more time than me.
I even didn't.
What else are you going to complain about?
I'm a victim of your. That is fine.
You know, truly, this thing is not.
We are innocent.
We have come here to try and contribute to the growth of our country. Let's do so genuinely. Let's not feel amped up about it that somebody is saying this and
you want to be a motivational speaker, change profession. Then you are in the wrong group. We are talking about people who have violated the law. You're giving motivational speeches. Or your counselor now.
No. Sammy, now you're being unruly.
You're fine. No. He's giving us advice, like a sermon on the mount.
Please.
We should do this.
People need that. Let him.
Preach on.
At least he's not quoting from the Bible.
Preach on.
But maybe next time I should bring the Bible. But you know, the truth of the matter is that I have just shown Sammy that next time when he's coming, he should come here with substance. This whole dancing around the issue, suggesting that the breach of the law is something that worries him and therefore he's at a loss as to what to do. There are appropriate forums to address that.
Which forum is that? You said we should go to court.
Yes.
And I just told you that a citizen cannot go to court on a criminal matter.
Everybody knows if you want to go to court, you report to the police and the processes will be done. Okay? So if they have a problem, they should start a process to want to prosecute the Bank of Ghana.
The commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces and the chairman of the Police Council.
But see,
they are the people we are supposed to report to.
So this whole form argument that they are making is not helpful to our cause as a people. We're in a difficult place. Just yesterday, if you saw, I think the report suggests inflation has gone up.
Yes.
It's a difficult place that we are in. We are making daily efforts to try to bring back our economy. We need
When you say we, who are you referring to? Huh? Who is making that daily sacrifice? Who?
Why?
No, I want to know.
Are you in doubt? You are part of it. Why? Who is government? We are government, aren't we? So
you and who?
We are government.
Okay.
So the point I am making is that those are the conversations that must preoccupy us. These other political things that the NDC does is exceedingly disturbing because it takes attention away from the substance that we must focus.
You are insulting Dr. Abiu. Because these are the issues he likes to discuss here.
No, please.
So you
are
insulting that this is with
you. I'm comfortable with it. Let him insult.
So he's saying that you discuss formula, you don't discuss
between you and Richard. The way you pamper
you want to do what?
I envy Richard. The secret between you and Richard, the way you pamper Richard. I envy Richard. Now change my name to Richard.
On this note, you can
maybe Richard James. All right. So up next will be the real substance.
This is the same Atu Forcing. Atu, is it the same you? Is it Atu Forcing? Hey, Atu. Hey, Atu. Hey, Atu Forcing. Were you not the person who could not draw down on the CDB loan?
My son, there's more blessing in giving than receiving. When you fear for you and couple the makers in Sri
The pneumatological abrasion of the Lord revealed unto me this night that me and my household should go out into the world and bless the world.
Makers Electronics Company Limited. Up to 67% discount. Our selected appliances.
This is what I call quintessential immaculatability.
The Makers Electronics Company Limited. Taifa Burkina Highway. Amasama Zongo Junction. At the K Pharmacy Dining. Oyer Fateman Boga Junction. Ashaman Valco Flat. Kumasi. Ahinema Kokobin. Asafu Buachi Hospital Junction. Takrani. Number 9 Market.
Tell mom and dad about the Makers Blessing Attack program
from 0552 222 253 and 0552 222 254. Terms and conditions apply.
Right. Welcome back to the show. If you just joined us, extended version of Good Morning Ghana, time to speak about mining. And Mr. Martin Ayisi is here, the CEO of the Minerals Commission. Good morning, Chief. How are you? We can't complain. We thank God.
Yes.
Last week we were speaking about the opportunities in the mining sector, and we zeroed in on the 5 things. Initially it was 4, but I expanded it to 5. The 5 things that you believe we need to focus on. One has to do with, I think, financing. Yes. And then I think the other one had to do with, I think, the decision on small-scale mining. You know, so maybe today we'll focus on the 2. I'm not sure we can exhaust all 5, so maybe focus on the 2.
They are quite loaded.
Yes.
So good morning to you and good morning to your viewers. I think I identify 5 key areas that we think we should work hard on. I mean, the policies and programs are already in place. But as we do the education, then people get to understand what is required. So before we left last week, I mentioned local financing.
Yes.
How mining operations are financed. I'll touch on it, and then how people can get into that space. Then there are opportunities in exploration and mining. That is to get involved in the exploration proper and or mining. There are a lot of opportunities there. Then the issue of value addition, something that we've not done very well at all as a nation, even the African continent. If you like, value addition or beneficiation. And then, of course, small-scale mining. Small-scale mining, for me, has become a critical aspect of mining in Ghana. At least 1/3 of our gold, and also is being conducted now in about 13 regions. It's not something we should play with. Then, of course, the local content, generally. So, if you ask me, the last 4 or 5 years, a lot has happened. So, Randy, we may have to start with the first one, local financing.
Yeah.
If you may recall, or even out there in the public, one of the biggest criticisms we face, that Ghanaians complain about is that we don't own the mines.
Yes.
This particular number 1 item is so critical for me. We don't own the mines. That's number 1. Obuasi does not look like Joburg or Perth or Vancouver, where most of these monies are raised from. If you don't own the mine, then they come here, dig the stuff, take it out. You don't even add value. And then they go, this cocoa business, the kind of money the Swiss make from chocolate. Yeah, they don't even have, an acre of a cocoa tree or something that cannot do in that kind of climate anyway. So it's the same argument that is playing out here. Now, if we don't take the issue of ownership seriously, we will not get there. Randy, there shouldn't be any panic, because in the West, the moment you start putting in place measures to ensure that, look, there is state and Ghanaian participation, or locals get to participate, especially in Africa, there's a particular word they use and hit at you. There's something called resource nationalism. We'll talk about that later on. So take Newmont. Newmont currently has 2 big operations in Ghana, one in Achi, one in Ahafo. They are building a 3rd mine. That mine is going to cost $1 billion. The money is going to come from US. It will go back. The annoying part, annoying in quote, because I'm speaking on telly, is that the money probably, most likely, will come from Newmont Mining Corporation. Okay? Because they have money. It is the biggest producer of gold in the world. I need to explain certain things so that we understand the context. And within a month or 2 ago, they completed one of the biggest mining acquisitions in the world. They bought a company in Australia called Newcrest for $19 billion. That's what? The total exports of this country? Or something of that nature. Hey, this is just one country buying, what do you call it, a company.
One company.
Yes, one company. Okay, so that has catapulted them to the number 4 or 5 biggest mining company in the world. Wow. I mean, there's a difference between being a big mining company in a particular mineral and also being a very big, some of them can mine even 11, 12 minerals like the BHPs and co. This money will come from Newmont Mining Corporation, and then it will come with an interest. Most likely, anything between 8 and 15%, depending on how they rate you. Okay, so if you are going to do a project in Niger, what is happening, then you say, oh, okay, this, and then you see, this is how, that's why when people say cry or won't cry, I disagree. What is happening in Niger has a huge impact on us here. So those hedge funds, private equity companies and co that are in Western Australia, in US and co, they say, no, West Africa, there they go again. We will not give them 6 or 4, 5%. You see, the interest rate they will get in their country, the same project, is not the same interest rate they'll give you here because of the risk factor, political risk. That is the issue. So you got to be wise enough to make sure that the money is raised here. That is it. The other big project, Cardinal, which will become the 3rd biggest mine in Ghana, about 400,000 ounces a year. Look at the average price of gold this year, a little over 1,900. That's a lot of money. The money is coming from China. It will come with interest rate. The annoying part is when they lend to themselves, the same entity. So Newmont Mining Corporation sits in US, gives money to Newmont Ghana Gold, and then take what, 12, 13%? You charge your withholding tax? No. So that is one area that we need to change as far as our policies are concerned. How do we do it? 1, we must insist that they raise some of the money here, because our capacity to absorb these billions, we cannot. How do you do it? They should list on the stock exchange. So for me, I have been told, and they've told the whole world, and I'll spend time on this, we can even continue next week, that Anglo Gold Ashanti, a South African company, headquarters in Joburg. I think they've moved their primary headquarters recently to London. They don't have any gold mine in South Africa. They sold all their mines. But they are trading on the Joburg Stock Exchange. They are trading in London now. That's their primary area of domicile. Anglo Gold is the biggest producer of gold in Africa. They have 2 big mines in Ghana. One in Obuasi, which now they say is their core prime property, and then the one in Iduapriem, just adjacent to Goldfields. Okay? Yes. Then they are number 4 in the world for gold. Then Goldfields is number 6 in the world. Okay? And also have 2 big mines in Ghana, Takwa and the one in Aboso. They said they want to do a JV. These 2 big properties, the Iduapriem mine and then that of the Goldfields mine. The data I have tells me that it will cost over $5 billion or so to do this, to put these projects together. It is good for this country. I mean, if you look at what they are presenting. But then the question we have to ask ourselves is, what is in it for us? Should we allow all these $5-6 billion plus money to do this JV? That is in the event government okays it to come from South Africa, or they should go and raise it in London? You see, when we keep allowing this kind of thing, which we've allowed over the years, then we will not get there. Okay? And I will, for example, not be convinced. If you come and tell me that there's $7-8 billion that we need to implement the JV over this period, we cannot get in Ghana. I may agree, perhaps the stock exchange or the various funds here cannot take it. But at least we can raise some millions of dollars here. You understand? And the money will stay here. So these are the kind of things that we need to work hard on. So we have to insist that part of the money is raised here. Okay? Either they talk to banks, they talk to certain institutions and raise the money, or they go to the stock exchange at least. So the law has been passed since 2020, we now have a law which says that a certain portion of their money should be raised locally here. And we're going to do that. So for me, I'm expecting that Atlantic Lithium will list and raise some of their monies here. So if we want money, mining, that's why when you ask that question, day one, oh, we have not benefited from the mining, I said yes and no. No, because the bulk of the money, you know that adage, he who plays whatever,
pays the piper,
calls the tune. Insofar as the billions that give you no less than 40% of the risk every year continue to come from outside, you are not in charge.
True.
So our new programs and policies are now being designed in such a way that at least let us raise some of the money here. It has started. I'll give you a success story. It is out there. So it's not something confidential. Mensing Gold raised about $160 million here.
Which one is that?
The Bibiani mine, which was moribund for about 6-7 years. And they got the money in cities, equivalent. Okay? The institutions that they took them from, and the institutions that they took them from, they're going to pay them. Okay? Either in gold or the money. Will it go outside? So it's been done. In fact, when they raised the money, it triggered a storm in the global mining world. Oh, so it means if they can do this, they can get away. Because you see, they are scared. They always need to have that stranglehold on you. But if you can start raising $160 million within a year to finance mining operations, that means you could as well raise $500 million and then maybe $1 billion or $2 billion. And then if they rely a lot on you for some of the resources they consider as critical, then they need to sit up. So what it simply means is that very soon you can also match them toe to toe, because then you can raise the money here. If you can raise the money here, then increasingly you are winning yourself, or you may not necessarily need them. You can acquire technology. You can acquire technology. I can own the mine and bring in people from South Africa or Australia or Canada to come and do it. So if we want mining to benefit this country, or answer that vexed question, whether indeed 100 plus years, first large commercial mine 1897, Obuasi 126 years on, okay, has benefited this country or not, then we need to take financing seriously. There are four major ways by which mining operations are financed. I'll be a bit good biased, because that's what we have. And let's be honest, 53% of the world's exploration budget, which last year stood at 11 billion, half of that went to gold. One, you can raise money through internal funds. So company A here in Ghana here puts in their own money. You can do that. Two, through debt, go to the bank and raise money. But normally the banks will give you money not for exploration. They will not want to risk it. So banks normally come in when you can demonstrate a bankable feasibility, or you're a mine. You found something, they know what is there. There's gold there, or the mineral is found. Then the banks will normally come in. So banks in Australia, a very popular bank, Macquarie, or Nova Scotia in Canada, they can bring in their millions. If they are bringing their millions, the same Macquarie Bank, what they will give in Australia, the interest rate will not be the same as what Ghana here, because of the political risk factor. So debt. Then equity. So you can sell shares. You see, private or public. It depends on whether you are listed or not. So Newmont, for example, can either decide to raise this $1 billion from their own money, okay, internal funds, or go and sell more shares on the various areas where they are listed. And then what is also now common is what they call royalty and what they call the streaming, where I can give you money up front, and then when you produce, you give me the gold, okay, or you pay cash. The fundamental difference between royalty and streaming is one, you pay cash, the other one. So maybe Metro can say we are sitting on $40 million for the sake of argument for the public to understand. So I'm going to give it to company A, go and do your gold project, and then you give me the metal, okay, at a discounted price. That's streaming. Or I'm going to give it to you and I'll take royalty interest, and then you pay me some money. So these are the various ways by which mining operations are financed. The question is, for how long can we go on like this? Because in South Africa, the money is raised on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange. Then we have other institutions, hedge funds and all those things. That's why I keep saying this anytime I come here. SSNIT, they sit on billions. I have over 600 staff. Do you know the budget I pay for SSNIT? Okay? Yes. What are you doing with the money? Okay? A lot of mining companies here. And then they've been showing up now. I mean, since I started this program, especially on this local contenting, I've had no less than 7 banks and institutions coming to talk to me. In fact, one has even moved far. They are even doing a due diligence on a particular company that is looking for money from them. Mm-hmm. And it's all because of this program. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And then all of them, I realized that they keep talking about risks. Then I asked them, American companies, hedge funds, and all these pension funds of all these their workers, they don't even know where Ghana is located. They only get to know about Ghana, either maybe through football, that's why football sells you a lot, or if there is war. All of a sudden, people are getting to know about Niger.
Yes.
Okay? Because it's being carried on CNN and all these important things. ECOWAS is talking about it, that kind of. That's when they get to know about Niger. Other than that, Niger, only the French know. Even the French, those who get the uranium. Those are some of the issues that we are talking about. So, for somebody to use his life savings, give it to a company that manages by investing. Like Ghana, we have tier 3, right?
Yeah.
Where we have various institutions that manage it for people. They invest in all kinds of things. Then he takes his money from a country where he doesn't even know where you are located, comes here, pours in billions, and you talk about risks to me. Okay? So Newmont is going to spend $1 billion to get Ahafo North, 30 kilometers north of Subika, ready in 2 years. And they'll produce on the average about 300,000 ounces of gold. Look at that. You understand? And they are saying you are very risky when it comes to political risks. You are very risky. Yet they are coming to say, Omanya Kukudo, and they have brought their money here. And then you sit here and say, oh, it is not something that you want to do. You have no business in questioning me that mine is not benefiting this country, because one of the measures government is putting in place is that put your money in these mines. If you don't want to do exploration for now, which is risky, what about these mining companies? So for me, this program is A1. And I'm happy that because of you, because of Metro, people now are walking to Minerals Commission and asking, look, we have a few monies here, we want to put it in. You know, how do we do that? Mining companies have come to leave their information. We're looking for money. When some people come and they want to invest in projects, refer them to us, because we don't only do regulation, just giving licenses and making sure that they follow the rules and protocols, but we also do what? Investment promotion. That's why we go to those big areas. We go to Australia, Perth, down under, we go to PDAC, we go to Indaba, and then we also go to sometime Mines and Money, just to showcase Ghana and tell that this is what we have. And people cut all kinds of deals. So that is one of the answers to that first question you asked. How do we ensure that money benefits this country? There are some policies already in place. Unless you have a question. Number 2, which we also have to look at.
The point I was going to make is that if you even look at what has happened to the financial sector of this country in the last 1 year, I mean, it is a no-brainer that a lot of the pension funds and financial institutions should stop what is termed as their lazy investment
and
options
run to mining
and go into mining.
Seriously,
it's a no-brainer at this point.
Even small scale.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer at this point.
Even small scale.
Yes,
I'm telling you, people are pouring money into small scale. People are pouring money into small scale and they are making money. I'm not talking about Galamsey here.
And that will even help with responsible mining.
That is it.
Yeah.
The properly regulated one I showed you. So then one of the banks also, I said, look, if you have put your money in this mining thing by now, you will have made it. And they say, oh, you know, sometimes the price takes a nosedive, you know, you can lose that. It's just because you don't have education. You just have to wait. You know, there are companies that are not miners, that are not into exploration. They call them royalty companies, like Franco-Nevada Corporation. They have billions, they sit in there and come to you, Randy, we can give you $100 million for this your project. In lieu of this, give us your gold or give us, we'll give you the money. Okay, if you have any good project in our project, they'll give it to you. But they look at all the risks and all this. I mean, somebody would prefer, of course, to come to Ghana than to go to maybe Niger or some of these countries and all those things. So you see, once we talk about, we have a lot of minerals and all those things, we also need to get our political system right. Governance is also everything. I mean, any mining company coming to Africa will always choose Ghana over many other African countries because of our stability, you know, our the way we do things here and all those kind. And they look at that a lot, you see. And I always say this: the thing is like a beauty contest. Okay, excuse my language because I'm speaking on television. Even prostitutes, unless you have not been there anyway, but at least you see those who visit them, they even walk around. They are even looking for certain things.
There's a popular place close to your office.
Yes. They run about there, yes. And they don't just go there unless he knows you and then you are the famous client for him. Other than that, they even look at you. Sometimes they talk, I see, when I'm not that
even they are choosy.
That is how mining is. So there's gold in Niger, there's gold in Ghana. Where do I go? Oh, Ghana, you know, peaceful, stable country, democracy. All the big guys are here because we have number 1 in the world here, Newmont. We have number 4 here, Anglo Ashanti. We have number 6 here, Goldfields. And now we have number 10, Shandong. In fact, we even had number 7 until they exited and sold at King Ross. Okay? So all the big players are there. So even it is a plus for us. So, if all these big players are here, then it means
there
that,
must be something good.
And Newmont has been around for like 20 years or so now. So that also speaks volumes of your pedigree. So that is that on the local financing. The framework already exists. It's have to be just a little bit hard and push. Randy, number 2, and that's where I come from, the local content team. So for now, here you are, but in a way, let me mention a few mines that are being owned locally now. So Ghana Bauxite, until recently, was owned by the Chinese. But now it is 100% state and Ghanaian owned. The state has 20% interest. The other 80% is for a Ghanaian. Adamus Resources in the Nzima area is also Ghanaian owned. Mensing Gold has a lot of local investments because of the money they put in there. So these are happening now. So it's not something that an illusion. At least we have examples to show. But I had wished this thing had happened 10 years ago. Maybe people didn't understand it, but then better late than never. Randy, so you don't own the mines. You don't own a Ahafo mine, you don't own a Chim mine, you don't own Takwa, you don't own Goldfields, you don't own almost all these big mines. And then the report we have, our report also shows that they spend billions of dollars. In fact, 3-4 times than the receipt they pay to government. So if you don't own the mine, what about the billions they spend every year on goods and services? That you can also not retain here. So if you don't own Newmont, you don't own Goldfields, and then in 2021, just about 13 or so mining leases spent, that's my favorite example, spent $304 million on fuel to purchase fuel for all those ERF moving equipment. Okay, I've not added lubricant. If you add lubricant, that's about $400 million. I'm talking about 2 years ago. Why should you sit down as a nation? If you cannot raise a billions, it's not that we cannot raise a billion. People lack education because I'm showing you examples. So if you cannot raise a billions too, do you want to allow foreign companies, I'm not a nationalist,
yes,
to come here and set up joint and sell petrol? You need psychiatric examination. So we stopped it. So in 2019, the record was $100 million. 2021, 304 million. See the new mines that are coming up. Ahafo North, $1 billion project. Cardinal, Azuma, lithium. Those who are expanding, redevelopment, etc. So very soon, fuel will be a $1 billion industry. And Randy, this is a fact. You do it, I'll do it. If you have an American company coming here, and they see an American company providing all kinds of services here, they will do it in America.
Yes.
Okay? When the Australians came here, they were using a lot, African underground mine, or AMS, etc. If a French company comes to set up here, trust me, if Societe Generale still exists in Ghana, they will channel their resources there. They will transfer from Societe Generale France to Societe Generale Ghana to finance their operations here. Okay? if it's from UK, they'll look for those banks. You understand? So, and they think that, well, they're being nationalistic. Yeah. Why would a French company come here, invest in, let's say, $100 million in a mine, and use any other bank when there's a French company here? They'll do the same thing here. Stanchart, Absa. Do you understand? They have those biases. It's natural, you do it.
Yeah.
Okay? You do the same thing. So, if you don't put in place deliberate, and some of the things you have to force it. And let me use that language.
Yeah.
Okay? US and EU and Japan, they give subsidies on agriculture. Have you asked yourself why? Haven't you seen, was it last year or 2 years ago, where tomato farmers come and then demonstrate and then put tomatoes on the streets of Paris? This is a developed country that heavily subsidizes agriculture. Then they sit here and say, don't do certain things. Okay, so some of the measures, we just have to force it.
You have to be deliberate.
You have to be deliberate. I'm not talking about where you don't have capacity.
No, that is common sense.
That one you are being stupid if you don't have capacity. Like some of the African countries, they say, oh, today don't export this in raw. The following day they change it. But then, so this is one of the mechanisms we have in place. We are saying that, by law.
That informs your local.
Yes, so
I'm being gradual about it.
Yes.
As you build capacity, as capacity improves,
some of them we are gradual, particularly in the area of manufacturing, because you got to be careful. You see, you don't force them to purchase product; they put it in the mill, and then you those things cost millions of dollars. But then I ask myself, every mining company by law is supposed to insure almost everything there: your machines, your equipment, and even your workforce. Okay, we have insurance companies in this country,
wholly owned.
Yes. So the rule we did it last year, and we said, I think 20% or so of your insurable interest or risk, whatever, use the local insurance company. And then we're so dramatic, we move it to 60%. Look at the number of mining companies in Ghana here. So if they spend even $10 million or $20 million on insurance, we are saying that at least 60% of that, give it to insurance companies that are 100% owned by citizens of Ghana. This is how you build your economy. Okay? Other than that, those foreign insurance companies that have come here, they'll do the insurance companies with them. The same thing, another area that we have revolutionary is the banking sector. They, more often than not, they return over 70% of the money when they export the good. So last year, receipt was about 6.6 billion. So give and take, at least not less than 4 billion was repatriated. Okay? Bank of Ghana gets some in dollars, they give them cedis. So I'm saying, or Mincom is saying, or for that matter, government of Ghana is saying that at least 60% of the money that you bring back, because you pay salaries, you procure services, you pay people who give you all kinds of services per the procurement, you pay them. I'm saying we are tired of putting all your money at Absa, Stanchart, EcoBank, and those areas which they like using. What about Agriculture Development Bank, CBG, Ghana Commercial Bank? Randy, if we don't do these things, so you see, once the money runs through, they also have money to lend people. They will do it in their country. If you don't do these things, okay, Russia will not allow a foreign company to come and explore and mine uranium. No way, for strategic reasons. Okay, for a very long time, America was not exporting oil. It is for a strategic reason. Okay, so why can't we also have a deliberate policy and say that a certain portion of your receipts should run through the local banks? A certain portion or percentage of the insurance that you do every year should run through the local insurance company. Fortunately, I don't have to go to Parliament every year and change the law. Parliament says a Minerals Commission. Every year, look at all the services and goods and that the companies procure, and see the areas that you think should be preserved for Ghanaians, and then generate a list, discuss it with them, and put it on it. Randy, one of my biggest achievements as Minerals Commission. So I got up one day, I saw the report. Then I realized that Newmont, for example, has about close to 8,000 people on medical services. Okay? So, for example, me, at Mincom, over 600 staff. I have a wife, I have 4 children. Okay? So you go to the mining companies, look at them. Whether it's a woman mining engineer or the female or the male who is working in whatever capacity, the spouse and children, depending on the numbers, it depends on the company's rule, are covered for medical services. Okay? How do you sit here as a country and allow mining companies to come from outside? Of course, they should come and invest their money. They will take their profits away. We will not stop that. Even communist country, China, you even take your profit away. How do you allow companies to come in here, come and set up? By law, they cannot use foreign doctors unless a foreign doctor comes to do a convention. Even if you come from Harvard Medical School, you are the best cardiologist, and anyone wants to employ you, you have to do a convention here. The same in my profession, law.
Right.
So how do you give a contract to a foreign company? They come here and then hire Ghanaian doctors and other allied health, what do you call it, health practitioners, nurses, doctors, whatever. Because the miners, they set up on the camp. Some of them are far out, okay? And then you pay the Ghanaian health professionals. And then whatever is left, you take it outside. You must be out of your senses. So we change that rule. So effective this year, we have instituted a new rule. This general, and we said that, look, every medical services at all the mine sites must be provided by Ghanaian mining companies. Come and see by February, the number of doctors that incorporated company and apply to Minerals Commission should be registered and provide that services. So Golden Star, for example, it was a foreign company that was running it. The contract ended in December. We met the chamber, we presented to them that these are the new things coming next year. And I said, don't sign any new contract, go give it to a Ghanaian. A Ghanaian doctor and his group want a company. Today they are providing services. It is not about whatever. Because you cannot go and bring the US doctor here. No way. It's against our law. So these are the kind of things that over the years they were doing. Okay? It's the same thing. That's the kind of thing they were doing. When an American companies come here, even they try to look for an American trained mining engineer. You see, yes. Today I'm very proud, and then let me repeat my favorite company, Idua Prim Mine, owned by Anglo Gold Ashanti, 740, because I remember the figures very well. Last year it was 630 something, so it means that they've increased the workforce. 714 full-time employees at Idua Prim Mines. Everybody is Ghanaian. The MD left, South African. We took him out. We said, no, give the job to a Ghanaian. So they headhunted a Ghanaian from Australia, one of the finest mining engineers we've ever seen in the world. Well exposed, his work everywhere in Africa, in Tanzania, in Australia, and all those. He's now heading the mine. Okay? It is not possible for a foreigner to be a mine manager in Ghana today. The mine manager, just for you to understand, is like the army commander. The mine runs. In fact, the managing director can be even a sociologist or whatever. I mean, he's just an administrator. When we go for inspection, it's a mine manager we deal with, and you have to be certified.
Operations specialist.
Yes. Okay. So these are the areas that we're doing very well, and these are just new. Again, my another favorite one, apart from medical services, is the tailings storage facility. For the ordinary man to understand, it's just a dam that you construct so that after the processing and all those things, you put them in there. That's why you store it, the waste. Basically, let's understand it that the waste from everything that you have done. Okay, you keep it there, and after some number of years, it is full, then you decommission. Randy, it costs millions of dollars to do that. This year, we have put it on the list, just this January. So it means that since January this year, no foreign company can come and construct TSF.
Because we have Ghanaian companies with the capability.
Me, 20 years ago, I cannot imagine this. But you see, and sometimes with the Ghanaians must persevere. Again, years ago, about 99% of exploration licenses are held by Ghanaians. Most of the exploration are in the house of Ghanaians.
Really?
Yes. Okay, when we do licensing rounds, about over 99% of all the prospecting licenses are held by Ghanaians. As a young lawyer then, assistant legal officer, senior legal officer, when they take the prospecting license, they give them some money upon signing, some $5,000, $10,000, some $50,000, they bring the foreigners to come and farm me, and then they are okay. Now, Ghanaians are not doing that again. Okay? they are raising money on their own, they are cutting better deals and all that. All those things have changed. Okay? So very soon, in the next 4 or 5 years, you will see medium-sized mines being owned by Ghanaians. Even the big guys, you see Ghanaians owning some shares in it. But it takes a lot of education because it's a very technical thing.
Right.
So, local content, we're doing very well. We still have a long way to go, but we are doing very well. You're talking about $3 billion annually. Local financing, we've just started. For me, this is the area we need to push. Increasingly force them, in quote, to raise the money here. I needed to be convinced that you couldn't get a $5 billion here and that you can raise $500 million. I need to be convinced the rest you can bring in from outside. The other ones, value addition, which is something of a nightmare. Then the exploration and mining, we'll discuss them. So the whole of August.
So we'll deal with that next week.
We'll deal with that. Yes. So if you have some money, come and let's talk so that you're going to put it in it.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
All right.
I'll go check under my bed to see if there's something there. Anyway, thanks, Mr. Easy. Great as always having you on the show. And up next is Metro Sports.
Ashanti, are you ready? The audition for Bookworm Ashanti 2 is coming on live. Pick your form, register, and stand the chance to be part of our contestants who will experience 14 weeks exposure, reading skill,